We too, believe us, we too.
We do. Richard, I can't spotlight you because your camera's off, but you just want to introduce yourself, and then we'll do Matthew next.
Oh, do it again. Yes, I'm Richard Holmes, and I'm from Pueblo, Colorado. Also one of the book club admins. And
No.
sorry, I'm have my camera off, but I look a fright right now. So
Look of frights.
Who else do we have here? Matthew, are you here still?
I am here.
Do you want to tell everybody?
All right. My name is. It's adorable. My name is Matthew, and I've been interested in the Titanic, collecting and researching for about 22 years now. Ever since I saw the film back in '97. Been to Belfast once. It was late at night. Did not go to the Thompson Dry Dock, although I did manage to go by the slipways and take a little tour around and see the Nomadic. And yeah, sure. For anyone who's interested, I explore shipwrecks.
He does. He even has one of those little mirror things. You call it a mirror thing? What do you call it?
A what?
I don't
What,
know.
Joe?
You know, like you have one of those little underwater cameras that can go down.
Oh yeah. Faith.
I was
my
calling it a
underwater
mirror thing,
ROV.
but I don't know what it's called. Oh, ROV. Yeah, he does. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not nearly as entertaining as the rest of these people on here. You should probably spotlight someone else.
You are entertaining.
Everyone's entertained in their own right.
All
Dang
right, I
it.
think I got. Did I forget anybody? I'm looking through and seeing if I forgot anyone.
I'm only entertaining if I'm drinking.
I feel that. I feel that.
I think I got everybody. So it's 12:58. If anyone needs a little potty break or grab a snack. Also, we're doing a collection for Colin. If anyone is interested, send me a private message. We're trying to surprise him.
Last chance for it, actually.
Oh, hopefully he didn't hear me say that. Did he hear me say that, Ashlyn?
I don't think he's on.
Okay, good. We're just doing a little. We're doing a little love offering for his.
But
I forgot to show this.
generosity.
You really don't have to, though. He's not expecting anything.
No, that's the best part.
Don't worry, I won't say anything.
We want him to be surprised.
So Jill, when Colin starts his tour, you should maybe mute everybody. So
yeah, I'm gonna mute everybody, and I'm gonna put
that would be good.
spotlight
Okay.
on him.
Fair enough.
That's good.
Oh, did I mention I have this for a mouse pad? Hang on, this won't. Hold on, can you see it? It's the background's kind of glitchy. Oh,
No, because it's like invisible with your background.
hang on.
gotta hold it in
You'll have
front
to
of your
like on
face.
for a moment.
It's a great magic trick right there.
Oh, in fact, it was.
There it is, there it is.
Oh,
That's my mouse pad.
I love it.
Very good.
I have a coaster my friend sent me from Belfast.
Oh, I have the same one.
You do? Yeah.
Yeah, I have it.
What?
I bought it in Belfast.
Why did I not buy that?
Awesome.
Alex, the things you don't buy sometimes.
Oh, dear.
Oh, well. Oh, well.
Oh, I'm gonna put my camera on because you're not a tourist if you're not walking around with the camera.
Oh, man. Oh, nice play there, Brianna. Wait, still, I'm playing. Hang on, do I still have mine? Yes, I still have my replica of a third class
Ooh.
white.
Oh, Brianna's
Does
showing us
anybody else-
around. I should spotlight her until. All right,
When the-
show us again.
in
I
the-
missed that. Oh, and Alex. Wait. I wanna
In the
double
movie, did
spotlight.
anybody else cry when all the china fell out of the cabinet?
Yeah.
I did tear up a bit at that, yeah.
I
Yes.
was like, oh!
Last half hour of the movie.
What are you
Mhm.
talking about? Who fell out of the cabinet?
The James Cameron film.
Who saw?
All that
I'm sure a
Oh,
lot of
yes.
you saw the original in '97, the movie.
No,
Oh, yeah.
twice.
How was that experience? I was too young.
Phenomenal.
Oh, she's just.
It was
Well, no, I wasn't.
terrifying.
Ones, too.
I was only a year old when it came out.
Remember where all the bread came falling down?
I
Laura.
saw the Cameron movie when I was 18 years old in the theater. and I cried through most of it.
Oh, wow.
I saw
I-
the morning everyone. I saw
Hey,
the
John.
I saw the film at I saw the film at the was then Man's Chinese Theater.
Oh, whoa.
Wow.
Huge screen.
Hello.
G'day.
Got in for the first showing, and I remember when we came out, at least someone nearby was yelling, "Oscar, Oscar!"
Oh my
Oh,
god.
Yeah, and
Well, it definitely deserved that.
yeah, we were impressed. Only one person in our group really seemed like a gloomy guy. She was furious that a critical review was made of the musical Titanic. But it's like, hey, yeah.
Oh wow.
Musical.
Over the
Oh,
years,
we got
over the years, we come to accept Jack and Rose can cut out a lot of that.
Oh yeah.
I always said the real star of the show was the film, especially the scene where you see the bow of the Titanic on the ocean floor, and all of a sudden it transforms to the ship docked at Southampton and everything.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
That's always epic.
And when the camera rises up and does a pan all the way down the ship.
Oh, the helicopter shots in that movie are
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
There he is. There's Colin.
Oh, he's here.
Hey, Colin.
Hi, Colin.
Come sit.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, Colin.
Can you all hear me?
Yes. Can everybody hear?
Hello.
Right.
Can everybody hear me okay?
I'm gonna mute you guys
Yeah?
so that
Oh.
we can hear him. I can hear you, Colin.
Just okay.
I turned everybody off so they could really hear you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for doing this. We're really all excited. Uh-oh. We can't hear him. Uh-oh, did I mute Colin? Colin, I muted you.
Okay, that's okay.
I somehow
I just-
unmuted you. I'm sorry. I'm making you co-host so that never happens again. Okay.
I can hear you now. How are you all doing?
Oh, let me unmute everybody. Okay, you guys can answer.
Good and delighted to be here.
We're so
Lovely.
We're good.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, we're
even though-
good.
Thank you.
I'm gonna mute everybody.
I'd
Oh,
like
wait,
to
let
say
me-
thanks for doing this.
let you see everybody. Colin.
Thank you heaps. For all the way from New Zealand. Thanks for
Everybody will
doing
be
this.
muted.
Yeah, we
So
are. And Colin, I'm going to put you in the spotlight here.
Okay, you
And
put
then
me in the pole position.
And then I'm going to mute everybody so that we can all hear you good. All right, go ahead.
Can I hear?
Or does he want to be outside?
Muted everybody.
So I guess.
Oh, and then Colin got
Go.
muted. Okay, go ahead.
No, sir, we can hear me now. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Jill, I can still hear you. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I can mute myself if I
No,
say-
don't, because I don't want to do the entire tour and nobody's listening to me.
Oh, I need to hit record. Thank you, Sarah. Just sent me a message to remind me
That's
to record. So
Okay.
that's okay with
Okay.
you that we record this?
Yeah, no, it's fine. And anybody wants
Okay.
to leave if any problems, just leave a message at the bottom so I can see it pop up.
Okay.
Or at
you
the
guys
end,
can
if you
use the
have
chat.
if you have any questions at the end, or if you have any questions during the tour, just let me know. Okay.
Okay. You
Just
guys
just
can
fun.
use that little chat feature there.
Okay, so welcome, guys. For all those around the world who are listening and watching on Zoom, and a big thank you to Anka and Jill for setting up this this wonderful Zoom call. It's the first Titanic tour I've ever done this way, so please forgive me if it's not as perfect as I'd like. I'm used to having an audience in front of me, but I do have one. But under the circumstances, it's nice to have you guys from all around the world watching. My name's Colin Cobb. I've been a bit of a Titanic enthusiast since I was a kid, and of course it's quite easy to be one when you live in Belfast, because it's where obviously the liner, of course, RMS Titanic was built, and you guys, of course, are all mad Titanic enthusiasts. I have the privilege, of course, of being born here, right round the corner from where Titanic was designed, where she was built, launched, and dry docked. And that's what we're going to look at today, is the last place that Titanic ever rested on dry ground. It's her physical footprint in history. It's known as the Thompson Dry Dock, named after by Robert Thompson, who was the chairman of the Harbour Office. Today, it's called Titanic's Dock and Pump House, as is everything here in Titanic Quarter has the name Titanic prefixed somewhere along. It seems to sell the tour a lot better. So I'm facing away from it at the moment. I'm down here at the Northern Ireland Sands Park. It's now called Catalyst. They took ownership of the site back about 15 years ago now, and they became the new owners, guardians of Titanic's Dry Dock. And in 2008, 2009, I became the operator for the site. I mean, the guys that own it aren't really Titanic. Well, Titanic's not their primary goal. Of course, they run the business parks here, as you can see. This is White Star House. White Star House, of course, named after White Star Line. That was actually quite controversial to get the name White Star House because it was owned now. The name White Star is owned by Carnival Cruises, and they had a copyright on it. So they weren't too happy at being called White Star House. There was a couple of legal issues there. So this is White Star House. It's now home for Citibank Financial. So there was Titanic tributes all around the park. But what you're here to see, of course, is that massive dry dock where Titanic last sat. As I said, her physical footprint. And she's right behind me here. This is the dry dock where Titanic was brought down to be finally finished.
May I?
Yes?
Sorry to interrupt you. So, hi,
Yeah, go ahead.
nice to meet you.
Yeah,
we
hello.
have a rising hand from John Clifford. Maybe he has
Oh,
just
hello,
an
Cliff.
extra question right now.
Yes,
okay?
go ahead.
So
Go ahead, John.
maybe
Go ahead,
can
John. Yes.
Still can mute, unmute him. I don't know.
Thank
how
you,
to do
Anka.
that,
I
so-
gave you
Or
you
just-
powers to
Or just
Yeah.
type a question if you want, you know.
oh, you
Yeah,
can type it in the chat.
If you
Yeah,
can
what I'll
type
be
it in, it'll
doing-
be
Yeah, Colin, I will be putting in check on the chat, but I have with me Titanic Illustrated History, Don Lynch's book, and
Yeah.
I know. Forgive me if you've already got these similar pictures up taken of at Harlan and Wolff.
Yeah.
You know, this is one of the classic
Maybe
photos.
we can do that later.
Yeah, because I'm just. I'll
yeah, go
send
ahead.
some
You
of
have a
these
question?
He's
pictures
like
to-
holding his camera.
What I'll do is send these pictures to the Titanic Messenger Facebook chat. So, Jill, you may
Sure,
want to
sure.
keep watch on those, and maybe we can discuss those later. Because
Okay.
I
Yeah, we can have like an
before,
open
and I
forum when this
remember
is done.
director Mike Rudd, Paul Rudd's father, used to show the old classic photos and say, "Here's a picture, there's a building or the dry dock, and here's the photo," so we could compare with them.
Sure.
I
Yeah,
hope you
sure.
have some of those.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm sure,
Yeah.
I'm sure Colin will use his photos he used when I was there with him. So I
Yeah.
see the black thing behind you. So you will use it. So we will see photos. So let him go ahead. It will be awesome. So I wish you a lot
Thank
of
you,
fun.
Anka.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead,
If you have a question, just pop and say, okay. So behind me,
use that chat
so
feature.
okay. So behind me is the Thompson Dry Dock, which is what you're all here to see today. And here it is. So this is, as I said, this is Titanic's Dry Dock. It's the last spot she rested on dry ground before, of course, the infamous short maiden voyage. Titanic was only in this dock for about two and a half weeks or so in February and March of 1912. But this iconic dock really is the only place really in Titanic Quarter that gives you a idea of the sheer scale and size of the undertaking. Building the world's biggest liners at that time, of course, Olympic, Titanic, and biggest vessels in the world, a huge taking, ordered by White Star Line, of course, in Harland and Wolff shipyard. This is the old faded glory of the past. And to the left, you can see the beautiful pump house. There she is. This lovely building, which is originally built, this first section here, then 1, 2, and 3 sections was built back in 1889, built for the Alexandra Dock. And the Alexandra Dock is just over there, if you can all see. And that's HMS Caroline. And Caroline is the last, well, one of the last British ships in the First World War, fought in the Battle of Jutland. She's in the Alexandra Dock now. So the pump house, which was built in 1889, was built to pump the water out of that dry dock. but then it was extended about here and down around about, well, between 1910, 1911. It was constructed with larger pumps. So it's still, the building is still here pretty much in its entirety. Beautiful red brick, the polychrome brick, Italian style, and all, of course, built by the Belfast Harbour Commissioners, not Harland and Wolff Shipyard. This is the Harbour Office, and the Harbour Office own all the land here. It's not owned by Harland and Wolff. Actually, Harland and Wolff have it on a 999-year lease here at the shipyard. But this, as I say, is the dry dock. It's where Titanic was painted, where she was finally finished, where the propellers were attached, and the hull was inspected. Any questions so far? Everybody happy enough? Jill, everybody okay? Anka,
Let me look in the chat here if there's a question.
Yeah, it was just a question upcoming if you go inside, but I'm pretty sure you did. So I already
have enough
this question.
Oh, you got people crying here, Colin. Oh,
are people crying?
Yes,
I can't see the tears. All I can only see myself here in the thing.
Dan wanted to know, was this where Britannic was too?
Yes, that's they were all here. The dry dock is where these vessels are completed. They are constructed initially up on the slipway, and then they are actually brought down here to be, of course, they have to get the engines and the luxury and all the furnishings and fixtures. That's done outside the dry dock. It's not done in here. That's done out over to the right-hand side. I'll cover that in a moment. It's 3 stages. Slipways, where Titanic Belfast is today, launched and within 3 hours brought down here. Spends about 10 months over outside in the fitting out wharf, which is just a deeper part of the lock, and then finally brought in here to be finished. And by the way, while we're here, these are the original handrails from that time. So these railings that you see was all the health and safety from 1911. So I'm holding up these original chains here. So there they are. So that's you can all see them there. The original chains there.
So
from the time.
So
of course,
wanted to know,
is better health.
Oh, sorry. Is that where the stern or the bow end where you are?
Okay, so the bow comes in first. Okay, so the bow will come in first. So going back to the tour, obviously Titanic was constructed up on the slipway, and I'll just show you here. As you've probably all seen these photographs before, but that's obviously Titanic being launched in May 31st, 1911. When Titanic was launched, you all see that? Yeah. When she was launched, she was an empty vessel. 2 years of work, nothing inside, of course, no engines, no boilers, no heavy machinery, no smokestacks, nothing. Just an empty vessel, just like a large empty canoe, weighing just over 22,000 tons. On that day, she was towed by one of the tugboats down here to the dry dock, but not brought into the dry dock right away. What happened was she'd be brought down for fitting. So she sits outside the dry dock, not in the dock. And for 10 months, this is Britannic, but this is Britannic for you experts there. It's not the Titanic. Some of these photographs are of Olympic, palmed off as Titanic, but there's lots of photographs of Olympic and lots of Britannic, and not very many of Titanic. I think it's probably because Olympic was the first one built, first one launched. It had all the pomp and the ceremony and the newspaper headlines. And there was lots of photographs taken by Robert Welsh of Olympic. And then, of course, Titanic sinks. And Robert Welsh then, of course, scrambled around and got lots of photographs of Britannic. So that's probably why, because Titanic was the middle ship and it just didn't seem to have the same amount of pictures taken over. I think that's one theory anyway. So this is this German crane. Recently was purchased by William Peary of the yard. It was called Hercules. It could lift over 200 tons. Wow. And here it is lowering in one of the 39 boilers into Titanic's hull, into the hull. And so not just that, but of course, all the rest, the heavy machinery and the smokestacks, the engines, all went in over a period of 10 months. These wooden gangways you can see here, the wooden supports that you see, this is all outside the sea. This is all out in the sea behind this grey building in the Belfast Lock. That's where that was. And I'm going to walk down there later and you can see where that is. But at low tide, you can still see the structural wooden supports here. So these wooden supports are still visible at low tide. I haven't checked the tide level yet, so when we get down to I don't want to be disappointed, but I will put a photograph up. I've taken photographs of the wooden supports of the pier, which the German crane was backed up to. Now, this floats on a pontoon, this crane, and it worked in Harlot and Wolff right up to the 1970s. It's a shame we don't have it anymore, but this is the job that was done. And then after 10 months of work, we have this photograph taken. Just a sec. Okay. So you all see that picture? So this is Olympic. This is Olympic in the dock, but you know, it might as well be Titanic. It's pretty much the same. And this shot shows you what the dry dock looked like back in this would have been 1911 or so, and 1911, 1912, no, 1911. Sorry. So we have Olympic outside being fitted out. So it's probably approaching Olympics leaving date. And what we have here is the dry dock, pretty much exactly as you see her today, with the keel blocks down the middle. There they are, still there. The step sides, the arches, the altar courses, which you can see. And the door at the end, this is the original dry dock door called a caisson door. Caisson, no French word for chest or box. There she is down at the end of the dock. And you can even see the edge corner of the pump house. There's a pump house roof, the apex of the roof. You can still see to this day over there. Hope you're all following me. Now, this dry dock was built. It was the idea of it was, of course, was to build much larger military naval vessels. That was Perry's excuse anyway. And they wanted, of course, Perry's real ambition was to have bigger liners. There was more profit in the liners for William Perry. And so he convinced the Harbour Office to build this dock. And they started in 1904. It took them 7 years to build, 500 men to dig out. It cost about 40 odd million in today's money to build it. And she was finally completed and opened on April Fool's Day of 1911. And the first ship to come in here was Titanic's identical sister ship. The Olympic was the first one here. And you may see my video on the 1st of April as a tribute to the opening of this dock. So it's all still here to this day. And as you can see, this little tribute plaque named after by the chairman of the Harbour Office, Robert Thompson Graving Dock, in 1911, the largest dry dock in the world, designed by G.F. Giles, who was an English chap. This was an English company, but the whole building work was subcontracted out to McLaughlin and Harvey contractors in Northern Ireland, or Ireland at the time. So when it opened, it was the biggest dry dock in the world, accommodating the biggest vessels in the world. So this whole area really was at its zenith, at its peak, the most powerful pump house in the world, the biggest dry dock in the world, the biggest ships in the world. So a lot to be proud of here. Now, everybody following okay? Are we happy enough? Any technical difficulties, or we can all still hear me?
Everything is fine, Colin. Everything is wonderful. Go
There was
ahead.
a question.
Sorry, there was a question. John
What was that?
asked, how long
go
did
ahead.
it take to fill the tank or drain the water? He wondered.
How long did it take to fill the dry dock? Okay, good question. Okay, so the dry dock, I'm going to show you. I'm going to go to the bottom of the dock for you. Okay.
Okay.
So at the very far end, I'm going to go down the bottom. I'm going to show you how it all operates. Right. So the dry dock takes about 3 hours to fill up, and we can empty it in half the time. Okay. So to get Titanic in here, when she was finally almost ready, almost complete, all the engines are in, the boilers are in, the funnels are on. How do we get Titanic in? Well, what you got to do is fill the whole dock with water. The dock holds about 21 million gallons of water.
Oh.
It's actually about 23 million gallons because the door is actually moved into the outer slot. I'll mention that. I'll talk about that later. Okay. Don't want to complicate things now. So the dock holds about 21 odd million gallons of water, 23 million gallons when Titanic comes in. And that's about 168 million pints of Guinness. Okay, so that's a lot of alcohol to get through in one weekend. But you might do during the lockdown. You never know. It's a lot of drink to get through. So 168 million pints of Guinness we can hold in this dock. So fill up, of course, all that water. The door at the end, that's a 1,000-ton door. It slides normally. It slides hydraulically to the right and into its own underground housing. And we can do that in just 6 minutes. So about 3 hours to fill the dock. The door is then open. And to get Titanic into the dock, because she's got no propellers, remember, we have to pull the Titanic into the dry dock. So to do that, we have this capstan. We've actually got 5 of these, 2 at the end, 2 in the middle, and 1 large one here. And this actually is powered by water pressure, and it rotates by a 35, 40 ton torque. And it turns by the power of water pressure created by the pump house over here, underground pipes and culverts, into a geared engine, which is here, and controlled, and its direction and speed is all controlled, if you can all see, through here. If you all notice where these stones are here, a steel bar, which looks like a steel hockey stick, would actually slot in there and can control the speed of the capstan, you know, where it's fast, reverse, the speed of the actual rotation of the capstan. So it's all done here. It's all still here. All the mechanism and the machinery is still here. So that would pull Titanic into the dry dock, which could take a few hours to get her in, because it's bringing it in very, very slowly. Once the vessel is in, the door is then closed, and the pump house has 3 Gwyn's pumping engines inside, and they will pump out the entire dry dock in about 1 hour and 40 minutes. That's about 2 swimming pools every 60 seconds, and they pump all the water through the brown grills on the floor of the dock. So the floor is sort of sloped, and it gets sucked into the grills underground, into pumps that are about 30 feet down onto the floor, up into the pumps, around, and ejected into the sea on the other side of the building. So they can empty the whole dock in 1 hour and 40 minutes. That's your maximum pumping capacity. It took a bit longer because they would pump the water out, and once divers inside the dock, who used to be down there all the time, the hard hat ones, to make sure the keel blocks hadn't fallen over, once they seen the water draining off the bilge part of the ship, bilge keel, then they would stop the pumps and turn on smaller pumps, and they would inch Titanic bit by bit down onto these original keel blocks that you can see. So Titanic is in, the door is closed, the water is pumped out. Titanic is now sitting here in dry dock. They will have her propped up, shored up, and she sits here over 2 occasions over a period of 2.5 weeks to be made ready for that maiden voyage. This dry dock is not really where you build a vessel. It's really for maintenance, for cleaning, for inspection, and to get these liners ready for their future at sea. And on top of that, it's for any future maintenance. So if Titanic had survived the iceberg collision, she was coming back here to be repaired, because this was the only dry dock in the whole world that could hold the Titanic.
So
there
when
was no other. Belfast was as I said, the industrial heart. Yes, go ahead. I'll take a
so
break
when
for any
Olympic
questions.
had to be repaired, what did they do with Titanic then? Remember when Olympic got into
So what happened then? That's whenever you see that classic shot, whenever, when the Titanic was on in here for 2.5 weeks. Olympic, are you talking about the accident with the Hawk?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about the,
Wasn't
well,
that...
the accident was, Titanic wasn't in the dry dock by that stage.
Okay.
So that was laid on in 1911. I think it was autumn time, 1911 or so. And so Olympic had no problem coming into the dock then.
Okay.
But the time Olympic lost, do you remember Olympic lost the propeller blade outside of New York Harbor?
Oh, yeah, maybe
that?
that's what I was thinking
Right.
about.
That's what you're thinking of, because this photograph, if I can just drag this one up for you. Let's have a look. That shot, the one of Olympic.
Oh, when you see them together.
That's Olympic coming into the dock, okay? There's the door.
Oh, that's what
been
it looked
removed.
like when the water was on.
That's the water in the dock. There's the entrance there. So the door sits here today. Okay?
Oh.
But they've taken the door away. They float the door out and put it to the side. That's the door in the water floating in the sea. Over to the left. I'll cover that a bit more later.
Right,
over here is Titanic on the right. Now, the reason why this photograph was ever taken at all is because it was February 1912, and Titanic was already in the dry dock, and she was taken out of the dock to allow Olympic in to replace her propeller blade. And that's how this final photograph of the two sisters was taken together, all because of Olympic lost that propeller blade. And that's a quest for your group today, that blade, I believe, is still at the bottom of the harbor. So if you want to go and search for something and find and solve a mystery,
there you go, Matthew. You can bring your camera down. So
I can see them all getting I can see it getting very excited there.
So in that picture, where is Titanic? Where you're looking, like where the buildings are?
Right. So I'm gonna walk down to this very spot in a moment.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'll point things out for you. But Titanic is over to the right. I will stand in the exact spot where it was. So, okay. So basically, Titanic's brought in, and once she was in, Robert Welsh took a series of photographs. Now, the photographs of Titanic we don't have because the classic ones are all the Olympic shots. So whenever she was in here, Robert Welsh stood over there. And took his photograph, and this is the photograph he took. That's of Olympic, which would have been the same view, of course, of Titanic. So there's the capstan we've just been talking. Can we all see that? Yeah. So there's the capstan we've just been talking about. There's your safety railings, also here, you can see there. There's your pump house, your clock tower, and sadly the old chimney was knocked down in the 1960s because the building was converted to electric, so they didn't need the boilers anymore, so they just knocked it down. And in those days, there wasn't much. Probably wasn't a lot of respect for the nostalgia of it all, as it would be today. But back
it
then,
seems like 2012, Titanic got a little more attention again.
Yeah, it's one of these things where you look back and go, "Oh no, that we knocked that down." Yeah, so sometimes you don't know. You don't know when you're making history when you're in it at the time. The only time you realize you're part of history is whenever some time has gone by, and then you look back and go, "Oh yeah, I really was part of history there." So that's every has that one. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, there's a question here. Petra would like to know, is the pump house still working? And Ty wants to know who owns the dry docks. No, the pump house.
No, the pump house doesn't operate. There was an ambition about 12 years ago to run the pumps again, but the electric bill was £50,000 a year, which is about $70,000 a year. There's a lot of money, and the people who own the site thought this was no good. They wouldn't pay for such a venture. It's like everything with a lot of bad language in WD-40. We could probably do anything. So it is possible. It is possible. But they could still operate if we want them to, but there's no desire to do it. There's no money for it. And it's just there to look at, really. But they could still work. They still would be operational. They were operational back in 2001, and that's only 19 years ago. So they could still. This dock was last used in 2001 for 2 Dutch ships that came for repairs. It's all well within living memory. The dock was in operation for 90 years and has seen nearly 900 ships here in the dock. So about 900 or so. Now, the other question was the pumps. And what was the other question again? Sorry.
Yeah, who owns
the dry dock?
The owners of the dry dock. Right. The ultimate owners of this site are the Belfast Harbour Commissioners. They would be the owners, but the actual lease of the site, that things can be done on it and, worked on and whatever within reason, within heritage, that belongs to a company called Catalyst. Catalyst used to be the Northern Ireland Science Park. They have a 150-year lease on the property. They have a 7-acre site here. But if they could sell it off and they got a buyer, they would sell it off pretty quick. It's just not their core business. They got the land here for quite cheap because it's in the back end of nowhere, this area, this dry dock. It gets very little tourists because it's at the aft end of Titanic Quarter. And unfortunately, a lot of the trade, a lot of the business goes further up the road to the Titanic Centre. Very few people make it down here to this end, which in my opinion is the best part. Don't get me started on that one.
Because my friend said, how are you going to do this? Isn't he supposed to be social distancing? And I said, well,
there's nobody here.
He's really going to be there.
There isn't anybody here. Even when it's not coronavirus, there's still nobody here. So it's not, unfortunately, when you build £100 million Titanic Centre, that's where all your business is going. The dry dock is very much forgotten about in that way, which is very unfortunate. Now, fortunately for you, we have colorized the photograph of Olympic in the dock, and cheekily, the name Titanic was put on it. I think it was done for the tourists. So that's a colorized version of the shot, as you can see there.
Yeah, it seems like they use Olympic for Titanic.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
so yeah.
That's what causes
a lot of these,
you know. I'm just kidding.
What's that?
I
A
said
lot
that
of these.
causes
I designed it. Yeah. Well, it
Oh,
does.
you designed that?
I mean, I designed all these boards, all the information boards you see. I designed them all. Yeah, because I've been the operator for the tours here for about 10 years, so I have some license. We have the key holder now for a long time, and I'm very passionate about the whole thing. But when it comes to tourism, you know, most of your photographs are Olympic or Britannic, and this one came back to us with the name Titanic on it by the designer, and I think that the guys who own the site would like to believe it's Titanic, but it is actually, of course, Olympic. We have a nice little board here to show that. This site was a lot busier years ago, but over the years, there's been no money put in it, no investment. My job was to do the tours, and unfortunately, the money kind of run out in this area quite a while ago for down at this part. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So, of course, Titanic's in the dock now. She's been shored up, propped up, and she's going to begin her painting inspection, hull inspection. We're going to move away from this and move down toward the end of the dry dock. So we're going to walk the length of the ship, walk the length of the dock,
nice.
and have a look at some photographs on the way.
Hope
we're all enjoying ourselves.
While you're walking, I have a friend who works at Harland and Wolff, and he said that they're doing some ship repairs now. Like, where would that get done? Like Navy repairs or something?
Well, Harland and Wolff have been doing ship repairs. They just don't build any ships, but they do ship repair. They have been bought over recently. Whether they're doing it now, I don't know. But there's no difficulty finding naval dockyards or shipyards that will do some repair. But it's building ships is a different story. Right. That seems to have gone the way, you know. Now, Mr. Robert Welsh brought his camera around. He stood here, overlooking the dock. Okay. And he took this photograph of Olympics port side.
Oh, wow.
Okay, you all see that? So that building there is that one there.
Oh, my God.
Okay, there was another chimney that was for the Alexander dock. It's now gone. You can see the capstan we were standing around. There it is there, which is over there. There's the curve of the dock.
Wow, she was really close.
Yeah,
tight fit.
So what you also have is the numbers 0 to 36 still embossed on the walls. And that's all still there on the wall. You can see 36 at the top there. Still there. And you have obviously about 40 feet of draft. And you have that 60 feet above what you've just seen the last photograph up there where Leo and Kate, of course, in the movie Titanic. I'm sure you guys have seen it more than once. many times, I'm sure.
We watch a lot of documentaries together.
I have no doubt. So this height here, this 60 feet that you can see, is the same height as White Star House. So the White Star House building is 60 feet, and that's 60 feet. Now, to get to the top of the smokestacks, you have to add on, let's see, 60, 40. You have to add on about another building and another 15 feet again. So yeah, so about 60, 40 at the bottom. That's 100, then another 75 feet. So to get, if that's Titanic sitting in the dock, and that's the bow, the prow where Leo and Kate are, to get to the top of the stacks, you have to add on another building plus 15 feet. It's 175 feet from the keel to the top, to the stacks. So we're going to take a wee walk down. Yeah, so it's just gives you an idea. Okay, so we're just going to walk down this way, down the dock. Any more questions while I'm walking?
Brianna says here, if the Titanic had hit the iceberg head on, as some suggest it should have had to return all the way to Belfast for repairs. Would they still have deported in New York, or would it have likely had to departed depart directly for Belfast for repairs after impact with the iceberg?
Ooh, I said, well, at the time of the collision, she was much closer to, what was it, 400 miles off Newfoundland. So she's much closer to America than she would have been back. But it's a very good question. I mean, what could they do? What could they do there? I mean, in America, there is no dry dock. They would have held the ship for repairs, but they would have had to let the passengers off somewhere. So that's a tough decision. Depends how crippled she was, how badly damaged she is. Do you take her into New York to take the passengers off and then ferry them back? I mean, they're going to New York anyway. So, I mean, I would say that the ship might have been towed into New York and let the passengers off. And at some point, the ship would have had to been returned back to Belfast again for repairs. Good question. I don't know. But passenger safety would be paramount, of course, in that situation. But I suppose that's a bit of an interesting comment to make regarding lack of lifeboats and things like that regarding safety. Now, let's want to dig out this picture again for you. Hold on now.
Okay. Thanks for the great
Okay.
questions,
By the way, the weather is really
this-
remembering me when I was there with you. It's awesome weather there.
Oh no, the weather here is very, very good. Very good today. I'm just going to dig out another
Especially
picture
for
you.
us.
Okay, just bear with me just 2 seconds.
Okay.
Okay. So now back to that photograph again. Now, of course, once again, the two sisters, Olympic on the left, Titanic on the right. Juggling the phone and the folder.
I know. I wish I could be there with you carrying your phone.
You can hold it for, okay. So I'm almost there now. Now, if you look carefully, right, I'm gonna get down a bit here. If you look, see the bollard. You all see the bollard? And you see the yellow capstan. I know that's in black and white. But you see the capstan here, and you see the bollard. Well, the first bollard is that one.
Okay.
So that one is that one. And look behind, you see the yellow capstan? That's there. That's that one.
Okay.
So now you have a visual reference. The men are feeding the rope around the capstan, and there's the bollard. So now you can picture Titanic is now behind and on the right beyond the bushes and the trees, and Olympic is coming into the dock.
Oh, wow.
Here. That all makes sense?
Yeah.
So you capstan, bollard, Titanic out there. That's where this shot was taken from.
Okay. So they were just
That's where
back
it's taken from,
further.
eh? Pretty.
Oh, that's great. I'm sure.
How many people are crying?
Yeah,
How many
we're all
people are crying now? Is there many people crying now?
Yeah, I'm reading that in the comments.
I can't
Okay.
even stop it. I miss this thing so much. So I really hope I will there in October, Colin. I really do. It's awesome.
We are so grateful.
Yeah. Now this photograph here is Olympic in the dock again. Sorry, there are a lot of mostly Olympic because that's the way it is. Olympic in the dock now, as you can see, lifeboats on, stacks are on. This is her in the dry dock. Now, a reason why I stopped here is because I want to point out this bollard. This bollard here is where I'm standing. That's that bollard there. This one. Okay. So that bollard is that one there. And the white wall that you see here, that white wall is the steps into the bottom of the dock. So that's how the shipyard workers got into the bottom of the dock. That's just one of the ways.
So they've just got it locked up. I've seen that in movies.
Yeah, no, because kids and on me will probably fall down it, so it's not a good idea.
Yeah,
but this is the original handrail that the workers of 1912 would have actually touched to go down these railings, to go down these stairs. This is the original handrails, right here, all from 1911. So you have a slide here and a set of steps, and the slide is for tools, equipment, and paint pots. Because remember, Titanic's only being painted here and propellers attached and the hull inspected. So that's all covered over because it's just too dangerous.
Yeah, no,
safety.
Safety.
Yeah, safety, you know. So moving down. Okay.
Oh,
we're
thank
walking
you
in
for
a,
this. I'm just thanking you for all of us because we're just all
so
in heaven at the moment.
So you can have Big Ben twice inside the docks. You can have Big Ben, which is the big clock in London. And this is the dry dock.
Oh.
We're standing here now at this point in the dock. So there's the pump house. There's the clock tower. That gives you an idea of the scale of the ship inside the dock. And we can have 2 Big Bens can fit in here, or 7 Albert clocks, which is our Queen Victoria's late husband, Prince Albert. We have an Albert clock in Belfast. There's the pump house. Just gives you an idea. And just for you nerds there, it would take 56,144,117 kettles to fill the dock. That's a lot of cup of tea.
Yeah.
56 million kettles. Okay. Any more questions?
Any more questions? I just see how.
Yeah, people are just asking if you will go down into the dock. I think they really want
we're
you
going
to go in. So
slightly
you will
better
get later
photograph
on, right?
there. Once again, there's the capstan.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so any questions? Far away.
So a typical year of drinking for an Englishman, Matthew asked. All those kettles.
That's the 168 million pints of the Guinness, you know, that the dock can hold. There's no
Actually,
need for pumps.
What's a kettle? Because I felt dumb asking, but
A kettle is well, I don't know what you call it over in America. Kettle's where you make a cup of tea. You know, you
okay.
you boil your kettle. What do you call it over there?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, tea kettle. Yep. Sorry, just wanted to make sure it meant the same thing.
Must be lost in translation across the Atlantic there somewhere, you know.
I'm just slow. So.
Okay. So we're now walking the length of the dock. The dock is 850 feet long. It's 128 feet wide, and it's 44 feet deep. Okay. So it was built to, remember, this dock was designed before the Titanic was even thought of. And when they designed the Titanic, they had to, obviously, could only make her as big as the dry dock's going to be, or is. So they had to accommodate that. So Titanic could only be so big. But they used everything at their advantage to make her the biggest liner in the world. And I'm going to show you a neat little thing that they did, which is to involve extending the door. So we're coming down to the end. And if you're wondering where Titanic was based, where she was kind of fitted out for the 10 months with a big German crane called Hercules, well, it was actually over here. So this is the dry dock gate. We're going to cover that in a moment. So at the end of the dock, and over here in the water, this is where Titanic sat. Here.
Oh, wow.
This is called the fitting out wharf.
Somebody asked, did Thomas Andrews go to the dry dock when Titanic was there?
All the time. All the time. Yeah, I mean, these are characters you would have seen nearly on a daily or a weekly basis. Thomas Andrews, Terry, Ismay had visited a few times. I put an Ismay photograph up of him crossing the gate. Any key figure in the Titanic story that you know of, from Harriet and Wolff and from, you know, Titanic's crew herself, even including Captain Smith, would have all come here at one time or another. Certainly for the opening of the dry dock on the 1st of April for Olympic, I would say all of them. I haven't got photographs of them all or proof they were all here, but I'm pretty sure that nearly everybody in the Titanic story that you know of, other than the passengers, of course, were here. Now, if you turn around, this is where Titanic sat. You can see this wooden platform, little solar-powered beacon on that platform. When the tide drops here, you will see little wooden fingers appearing here and over here. Those little wooden fingers are the original structural supports for the pier that Titanic was moored against and where the German crane was that lowered in all the boilers and the heavy equipment and machinery. Over here, where the grass area is, that's all been filled in now. That's a car park for the Catalyst Park. But Titanic's bow would have come right into where the grass is, here, okay? That's where she sat for 10 months. Then finally brought into the dry dock. Now we're down at the end of the dock. And we'll have a look at the view.
Oh, and it's such a beautiful day. Is it warm enough for you? Are you cold?
Yeah, so it's a lovely day here, and it's really warm
Oh,
too.
nice. I'm
And
so
thank goodness,
glad.
because the weather here is so unpredictable. So this is a nice view now, looking into the curvature of the dock. We're now looking from the aft end, and this is the door. This is the original door to the dock. Yes, every rivet on this door is the original. You might as well be looking at Titanic. This is the dry dock door. It's called a caisson, as I said before. It's an old French word for chest or box. It's a watertight box type gate which can actually float in and out of its position and can be moved away for maintenance as well. These are all the original rivets, all the same guys who built, the guys who, you know, the same steel, same men,
steel as
same time,
Titanic, right?
same, all the same stuff as Titanic. It's
Ah.
all the same stuff. The decking, the railings, the photograph you guys seen of Bruce Ismay walking over the gate. You might see me post it on the Titanic Friends group. That was him walking over the gate, across over the gate, and it had Olympic, of course, in the background here. So this is a great shot.
Gosh,
Now this door,
cry.
mechanically, this door hydraulically slides this way. It slides this way under the ground into its own underground housing. It actually, the whole top deck drops down a few feet, and it goes under the ground here, under my feet, into its own underground housing. The raised concrete part that you see underneath there is a brass hydraulic engine powered by water pressure, and that is what drags the door under the ground. This huge pressure from the pump house creates this water pressure that turns gears and cogs, turns this brass hydraulic engine, pulls the door under the ground in just 6 minutes. Now, when it came to Titanic, when they designed Olympic and Titanic, because remember, Titanic's kind of a copy of the Olympic, more or less, off the same set of plans. They didn't design Titanic around the size. They designed it around the size of the dock, not with the door there. You see, when the doors, if you just bear with me 2 seconds. So we know how the door opens in normal operations, this way under the ground, opens and closes, right? But if you look over here, look at this model. Now this, actually look at this photograph first of all. I don't know if you guys have seen this picture before, it's pretty cool. So is that a question there? Sarah has already been covered, but what was that question?
Sorry if this has already been covered, but when was the door last opened?
Last opened in 2001. There was two Dutch ships that came for repairs. It's all very recent stuff.
Wow.
Okay. Now have a look at this picture. This picture is taken from the Olympic. This is the Olympic. Robert Welsh is on board the Olympic. He leans out over the railings and he captures a shot of the dry dock when she was brand new.
Oh my
the
God.
photograph is most likely May of 1911 when Olympic is leaving Belfast. I can't be sure of that, but it's almost, because if you look carefully, there's Titanic in the background. There's Titanic in the gantry, still in the gantry, the Arrow gantries. Titanic's there, hasn't been launched yet, so we know it's before May 31st. This is Olympic looking pretty much finished. This is probably the day of the launch. And there's the Alexandra dock. There's the pump house with its 2 chimneys. And this is the Thompson dock, Titanic's dock. And there's the door. Now look where the door is. The door is not in its original slot. The door is sitting in an outer slot. Let's have a look at this model. This is a model of the dock before it was constructed. So before they build it, they always build a model. Make sure it's going to look right. Just like the Titanic. Wow. This is a model of the dock. The door sits here and it slides under the ground into its own housing. But it also had this apron, this concrete apron where the door can be floated out, brought back and slotted in here. And it was done for that. There it is in the outer slot there, outer slot there. It's done that because they can actually get underneath the ground. They can clean and inspect the door. They can change the rollers under the door. This is a maintenance position. So the door normally is under here. So they can take a door away. They can put the door there. They can get in here now and they can clean, maintain, fix anything they need to do with the door in the outer slot. Today, the outer slot has this in its place. So we have the door in the normal position and we have this concrete wall, which was put in back in 2012. This is a concrete sea defense, which cost nearly £2 million to put in. And it was put in by McLaughlin and Harvey, the same company that built the dry dock. So yeah, they're still going, and they put this door in. It all ended a bit acrimoniously about the money and the price and the soaring cost, but that's the story for another day. But this concrete sea defense had to protect the dry dock because the door was leaking. It's old, it was starting to fail. And to protect this dry dock from total flooding, and you wouldn't do a tour at all then, you could use it as a scuba diving center maybe, but if it wasn't for this wall. So this dry dock wall, this concrete wall done that. Now, in Titanic's day, when they designed the Titanic and the Olympic, they designed, this is important now, listen up. When they designed Olympic class liners, they designed those ships around the size of the dock, but with the door in the outer position.
Oh.
And they did that to make Titanic physically even bigger again. So the door, when they designed it, they knew the dock's 850 feet to there, okay? But if you move the door back to here, it's 887 feet.
Oh.
And Titanic was, and what was
It's
Titanic?
882 and a half or something.
2.5 feet. So it was only 5 feet to spare. So to make Titanic physically bigger, they designed her with the door in the outer slot. So when Titanic came down here, the door had to be physically floated away. It's a floating door, floated away and taken away round the side of the dock. Titanic then comes into the dock and the door is floated round behind and is sunk in this position. So they sink the door down. This here door was sat here and they sink it down here. Fill it with water, it's a tank inside, the door slots in here. So every time you see a picture of the Titanic in the dock, the door is in the outer slot. And to show you what I mean.
Oh, great information.
I hope I'm not boring you to tears, but this,
Oh
see what I mean?
We're in heaven.
Right, so this is the Olympic stern. There's the rudder, there's the props. That's where the door sits today. The door's sitting here today. And that's where the doors moved to back in 1912, where the concrete wall is today. So where this door is now is the gap there. And then moved to here, which is out there.
Wow. That's
Get that
amazing
now?
technology for, 1912. You're thinking.
Yeah, well, I mean, they just took advantage of what they had. They took that position. So they just thought, well, look, by putting it in the extended position, we can make the ship over 30 feet longer. That was the idea. Now, you've all seen this photograph, yes? This is actually a piece of movie footage. The only bit of footage of Titanic in the dock.
Oh, that's from the move, that little clip.
Yeah. There's this guy with a rolled up, looks like clams or something in his arm. There's the guys, they're all standing literally right there.
Oh.
Okay. And there's Bruce, says Mike. We'll talk about it. This is Titanic. So I'm standing here. And Titanic's coming into the dock.
Gosh.
And look, there's the door in the sea. That's the door. The door is outside in the water. Outside, because the door normally goes here. They've taken it away and put it there. So it's sitting there. So next time you see that bit of footage, you'll probably go, never noticed it before, but there's the door. So the door sits there. Titanic is brought into the dock, and then the door floats in behind it, and they sink it right there. And just sinks down into its slot. And one other thing for your listeners today, bit of humor, of course. Anybody, any ideas what this is?
Anybody type in if you know what that is, or raise your hand.
Anybody know what this is? You need to speak it out to me. I can't see the answers.
Somebody next said latrine, the toilet chute.
Yes, well done. Of course, this is well done. None of the tourists ever get it, but I expected you guys to get it. This is called the heads. It's called the heads. It's the toilets. That's the toilets up there. And the pipe that you see, this pipe here is what the Australians call the long drop. Everything just runs down the pipe and into the sea. You can use your imagination for the rest. That wasn't done in the dock. That was done outside.
Yeah, I would
in the
hope.
sea. It's not that you're not going to make a complete mess. So a great shot. That shows you how that all worked. Now, you've been very, very patient. Very patient. I'm going to cross the bridge and I'm going to go to the bottom of the dock. So let's walk over the concrete sea defense.
Okay.
And I'm going to hope I don't drop my phone. If I drop my phone, all the best.
Oh gosh, we'll hope that it just bounces back like mine does every time I drop it.
Have a look at that riveted door.
Whoa, that's the Titanic steel, right? Like the other
Beautiful,
side.
eh? That's the Titanic steel right there. And this is the Belfast Harbour. Titanic would have set its way down the Belfast Lock and off into history.
Wow,
And
beautiful.
that's the last time we would have seen the Titanic here in Belfast, sailing that way. And 12 days later, iceberg, 6 times her size and shaped by nature. And sadly, never to return. Very sad indeed. But this is the birthplace of a legend.
Gosh, we're just so in awe and grateful.
So, back around the other side. Are we ready to go down?
We
To the
ready,
bottom.
guys?
44 feet
I
below.
think there's a yes button they could use. Yes, yes,
So,
yes. I heard there was. I haven't.
Somebody
seen
got fired.
it. Oh, there is. I'm gonna hit the yes
Don,
button.
I see you finally got teared up. So let's have a look over. Quite scary.
Oh.
So this is the caisson
Matthew
door.
was born ready.
So as you can see there, the door is sealed by wood. This is a wooden seal. It keeps the water out. It's called greenheart wood. It's a very strong, hard-wearing wood, and that's what seals the dock off. So it gives you a nice view of the top of the door. So let's go down to the bottom. Down we go. So back in 2012, I did the tour for James Cameron in September of 2012, and this was the highlight of his trip doing this tour.
Oh my gosh, we love that picture.
Yeah, he was a great guy. I had to buy him a drink at the bar. What's
you
that about?
did?
Yeah.
Wait, he has a lot of money, doesn't he, to spend? Or maybe not. He didn't make a lot of money or something. Remember, he said he didn't make a lot of money or some documentary we were watching.
I don't know. Okay, so great shot here looking down the dock.
Wow.
So we're now below sea level. We're underwater. We're going to be around about 35 to 40 feet under the water. Hopefully it stays dry.
Stay dry. I'm going to shut my
Now, the first thing you notice when you get to the bottom, the dock does leak, so don't worry too much. I'm not going to die just yet, but the dock does leak water. And the first thing you notice is this tunnel.
Ooh.
Spooky, creepy tunnel. And this, anybody want to guess what the tunnel's for?
All right, guys, type it in. I'm
What's
trying
the
to think
tunnel
if I
for?
remember that in a movie or anything. What's that tunnel for?
There's 2 of them. I'll give you a clue. There's 2 tunnels.
Oh,
One this side and
yes.
one on the other.
Terry said escape. Amber said draining it out. John Clifford said sewage.
You're almost
Sarah
there.
said escape. Matthew said access tunnels or to allow flooding.
Ah, that's it. This is how you flood the dock.
Oh,
This is how
Matthew,
you-
you get points here.
This is how you let the water in. Now you would never let the water in by opening the door when the
Good
dock
job,
is dry.
Matthew.
That's a crazy, great, Matthew. Well done. You go to the top of the Titanic class.
Yeah,
Well done.
that's.
It's just you the
And his
young
teacher
Padawan that-
said he was never going anywhere. He proves them wrong every day.
he was wrong. He was
I'm
proved
gonna
wrong.
write them myself.
What did he know? So anyway, so this tunnel, there's 2 of them. There's one here and there's one on the other side over there. And that they do is they fill the dock with water. Why? Because you never want to, have a look at this door. You never want to open the door when the dock is dry. Because obviously the pressure from the sea would bend the entire door around and buckle the door and probably destroy it. So you got to equalize the pressure. You got to fill the dock with water first. And the water comes through here. Just going inside. Kind of spooky and creepy tunnels.
Oh, it
you can
is.
see.
Wow.
These old wooden railway sleepers you see behind there is from the sea. So it's a valve that opens up and lets in the water. Once again, powered by the water pressure. You have millions of gallons of water will pour through here and fill the dock up within 3 hours. Then you can open the door. But as you can see, it doesn't get any more real than this. Still leaks today. There's the water still coming in.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see.
Wow, it's like a little waterfall there.
Yeah. All the water still coming through. That's not coming through the door, it's coming through the soil. It's made its way through the ground over many, many decades. And all these docks kind of leak. There's seepage and drainage, but there's always a little bit of leaking comes through the ground, especially if it's been raining the night before. So there you go. The dock still leaks.
Matthew
day.
said, may I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Matthew.
And thank you for the kind words, Colin. He said,
That's okay.
the water pressure on that door must have been awesome. How thick is the door? And is it
Right, well,
steel or
right, well,
like-
the door. No, it's well, the door, the plates that you see are the same as Titanic. They're 1 inch thick, overlapping clinker built hull plates. Now it's not a solid door. Okay, that'd be quite an engineering task, and I would never float if it was solid. But basically, the way the structure of the door works is that inside the door obviously is more or less hollow, but the bottom third of the door is these bricks. See these bricks here, all these blocks, these ballast blocks. These ballast blocks take up about a third inside the door. That's what gives the door its weight. The door weighs about 1,000 tons. The middle section of the door is all structural support, crossbeam members. The top part of the door, the top third, is an empty free flood tank. And that's the door is perfectly balanced, and 1 inch thick plates on the other side. The door is perfectly balanced that whenever you take out a certain amount of those bricks, the door will float. So you wait till high tide, you fill your whole dock with water. Obviously, you're taking out a certain number of bricks that you know you need to take out. The door then will float, and then they can move it away. Wow. Now, when they move it back to the outer position, well, you've lost your weight. So what do you do to replace the weight? A guy stands at the top with a hose and fills the top part of the tank inside the door, which is empty, and fills that with water. And then it replaces the weight, and the door sinks into the outer slot. Okay? So once you want to bring the door back in again, you take the water out and bring it back in bring it back into its original slot again, fill the dock with water at the top again, or fill the door with water. It sinks back into the slot, keep the water in, then put the bricks back in. Once the bricks are in, there's a hole here and there's a hole over there. You let the water out of the top part of your tank. And that's the basic operations of how you do it. And they could paint this side of the door, and they could move the door away and turn it around and float it back in the other way and paint the other side. Wow. Clever stuff, eh?
Oh my gosh.
See, the Irish are so clever. If it wasn't for alcohol, they would have ruled the world.
Terry was wondering, how was the door moved?
Okay, the door is operated by huge chains on rollers, which are connected to a hydraulic brass engine about 100 feet away at the other end. Well, I showed it a bit earlier on if you were here earlier, but there's a big brass hydraulic which pulls the door on a kind of geared system. It's almost like pulling your curtains, like a drawstring on the curtains that pulls it on a large frame and pulls the door backwards. Underneath the door are rollers, greased up circular rollers that the door rolls on and goes under the ground. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're now down at the bottom of the dock. This is the view I have.
Wow. I think Matthew was telling me about being down there and sitting down. I wanted to cry because he sat down
Matthew,
there.
were you down
Is
here?
this where you were, Matthew?
Was my...
Is this where you were? Yeah.
Okay, so this next photograph, I'll show
Oh, he
you
said
where
no,
I'm
he was
standing.
on the slipway. Okay, I got you.
Matthew, did you come all this way and not come to the dock? Did Matthew come all this way over and not see the dock?
Well,
My goodness.
actually, he was there, Colin, when at night. It was
okay.
late night. So you were not there actually at night. So that is the reason why he was not there for very long, about a few hours, and it was already dark at night. So that's
well, Matthew, you're more than welcome to come back again.
Oh,
and, you give me a shout. Now, this photograph, remember, this next shot was taken with the door in the outer position, so the door will be further back. But this is the shot here. Do you all remember that photograph?
Yeah, that's Olympic, right?
Yeah, they're all Olympic.
Well, they always pass it off as Titanic. I'm like,
everybody does.
I'm not a ship person, but
this is Olympic, and this is Olympic in the dock.
Oh,
and it's just you might as well look at it. So that's the view you see there.
It's a say. Oh,
note. I can't. I've got something else. But look at the steps side. The steps on the left, steps on the right. And you can see them here today. Steps on the left, steps on the right. There they are. And they're sitting on the keel blocks right there. The keel blocks are right in the middle underneath the rudder. The keel blocks are still here to this day.
Matthew wants to recreate that photo.
Yeah. So let's go to the bottom of the dock.
Okay.
So
Eric,
down a few more
was
steps.
asking, did you repaint that door every so often, or is that just Yeah.
No.
No, I wouldn't.
I don't know.
Wouldn't think.
That's,
I didn't.
it doesn't look like.
Yeah, it doesn't look very maintained or
No,
whatever.
it doesn't look like it's had a. So this floor, you're looking at the concrete floor. And the walls are about 18 feet thick in concrete. So it's here to construct where I'm walking on. And this. Now we've got the nice health and safety steps. That's the big Jesse ones. But back in Titanic's day in 1912, this is the original steps here.
Wow.
That's the original steps. So all the guys who worked on Titanic, who built the ship, who were behind the construction of it and the birth of this wonderful liner, which had such a short life, just 12 days after leaving here, they all would have walked down these steps. And the handrails are the originals.
Oh my gosh.
The dry dock is a time tunnel. It's frozen in time. Really, it's like an old deserted Roman courtyard behind me. And literally, the echoes of the past, the faded glory, it's all still here. Very quiet, very mysterious. And as Anka will relay that when she came here, it certainly leaves a great impression on you. One that stays with you for a long time.
My God, listening to her and Matthew, I'm like, I just close my eyes and imagine being there. But this is really brings it all to life. Jorge wanted to know how many ships have been docked over that center structure where the keel lays now.
About 900.
Wow.
About 900 ships. We have a ship expert here called Alan Geddes. He's what we call a harbor enthusiast. He does all the extra stuff that you would never have time to find out. And he, on the last count when I spoke to him, about 900 ships over 90 years have been in this dry dock. Now, while we're down here, we have to look at these 328 keel blocks. Guys, these are the original blocks that these ships sat on.
Oh my
They haven't been changed. These are silent witnesses to an era long gone. They literally just sit here in situ. And if these kind of blocks could speak, the stories that they would tell.
Stories they could tell. Yeah.
These are all, now I'm not saying the wood's original. I don't want to palm you off on that one. But these here are the original blocks, and they weigh 4.5 tons on each stack. 4.5 tons. And they're to hold the weight of Titanic, which is 46,000 tons plus on top of these blocks. The reason why they're here, of course, is because the ship has to rest on these so the men can get physically underneath the ship and paint and clean and inspect underneath the ship. That's why they're here. That's why they are in nearly every dry dock, of course, nowhere. So these keel blocks are the originals. It held those 900 ships, including the Olympic class liners. And they're just all sitting here, frozen in time.
Wow.
So Colin, I have a very nice message from Terry. So he's saying, this is the best tour in person or ritual I have ever gone on. Thank you, Colin, and Jill for hosting it.
That's okay. That's okay.
Really nice.
It's even better. It's even better in person.
We're all gonna get this one advertised, and we're gonna advertise for you. And when the plague is over, everyone's gonna come and do your tour, and you're not gonna do with them all.
Well, get on a bus and come over. Well, plane, boat, whatever. So these keel blocks, as you notice, have got holes in them.
Oh.
And that's how the men carried them, because there was no crane down here to move them. So they had to line them up perfectly straight for the ship, because the harbour office was charging Harland and Wolff per keel block. So for every keel block that your ship used, that's what you got charged. So your ship used 200 keel blocks, you got charged 200 times whatever the going rate was. Wow. So that's how it was operated. So per keel block was the rate you got, the daily rate for your ship being in here. So Harland and Wolff were being charged. Now to move them into position, the men put an arm bar through the holes there and over there. And the men had to physically lift the bar, maybe about 4 on each side, maybe even 6 or 8, had to lift each section carry them, and set them up perfectly straight all the way down.
Wow.
Into position. Now, before the Titanic came into the dock, they put a diver down here, a hard hat diver. And when they fill the dock with water, the diver's job was to walk the entire length of the dock underwater with his hard hat on and the lead chest breastplate. And he had to walk along and he had to feel each block underwater in the dark to make sure each one was standing upright. Because you don't want any of these toppling over when the waters come in, and because you won't see it. So what will happen is the ship will sit down in blocks that have fallen over, and you could unbalance the entire ship. So they had to make sure every block was standing upright at the bottom of the dock floor when it was underwater, or that would be a disaster. So that was a job I don't fancy doing, but that's what the hard hat diver had to do.
That's a lot of trust. I mean, look how narrow. I never would have guessed if I had to guess that would be able to hold.
So what we have here on the walls, you'll notice the square holes, and that's for putting wooden props into the walls and shore up against the ship. And they never used them for Titanic, but for some vessels, smaller vessels, they did. But that's what them square holes were originally for. And over here, this is one of the walkways to get to the bottom of the dock. This is the one that goes through the walls. There's the steps. There's the slide for the tools and the equipment you seen earlier. See? You don't see?
Do you know if they did any filming? You know, like I watched that movie that was about the crew. Do you know if they filmed that right on set? Because
there hasn't been very much stuff filmed in Belfast pertaining to Titanic stories.
It wasn't like a recreation. Oh, Amber has a question for you.
Yeah, my questions are.
We don't have any photos of Titanic's propellers. Some say Titanic's central propeller had 3 blades, others say 4. Do you know how many it actually had?
I think you and I had this discussion, didn't we? Is Anka still there?
Oh yeah, we had it. I can remember.
what was the result of that? Can you remember?
Oh damn it!
I can't remember. We went through this whether it had 4 blades or 3 blades.
Yeah, and you told me about the books from Holland and Wolf that there actually is no evidence for 4-bladed, but only for 3-bladed. So we said it's most likely 3-bladed one.
Yeah,
so
that's what it was. Yeah, good question. I haven't heard that one brought up for a long time. Yeah. We think we settled on 3 blades because there just wasn't any. It doesn't mean it's not. There just isn't enough evidence for the 4-bladed prop. I could be wrong. It's just something that.
Nick here says that there's a notation on the Harlan and Wolf plans that she was fitted with 3.
There you are. So 3 it is then. 3 it is. Now here's a great photograph for you. Now imagine Titanic being in the dock, sitting on the blocks, and you get underneath and take a photograph of what it looked like. And this is the photograph. So there. Now,
what a great
That's a great picture. So what you have now, these blocks are not the central blocks. They had an extra row of keel blocks out here on the left and on the right. So the widest part of the ship is called the bilge. So they had an extra row because obviously it can't just sit on this thin strip of blocks. It'll topple over. So like stabilizers on a bike, they had an extra row down there and an extra on the R set, the widest parts, and that's those parts, the widest parts, which are out here to the left. So that's that shot. And you know where you are because there's the wall and there's the square holes in the walls. There's the square holes. You can see them. And there's the gully where the water drains off into the gully. And there's the gully down the edge. And if you look carefully, do you see the brown grill on the floor? This kind of rectangular brown grill with a yellow sign on it? That's it there.
Oh my gosh.
So there's the grills and they go all the way down the
dock. What a great picture. That shows how wide, because you don't really see that angle, like.
Well, when you came down the steps, you literally were greeted with a steel hull right in front of you. Because look how close it is to the wall.
Oh my God.
It's only 2 or 3 feet away from the wall.
Who had to back that in? Does she back in? Or she goes in?
No, buy first. Oh, buy first.
Oh, Matthew said Saving Titanic was filmed briefly in the dry dock as well as I think Titanic Blood and Steel.
Well, I have to watch that. Is that Saving Titanic? Is that oh yes, there is a documentary called Saving Titanic, wasn't there? Well, if it was, I must watch it. I haven't. There's so many. I don't know if I've seen that one.
We can
I do
add
watch a lot of it.
tips for your tour.
Do you have it? The thing is, when you've done the Titanic, when I've done the Titanic for all the years I've done it for, you tend to because you do it every day as a living as well. You kind of put your feet up and take a break.
Yeah, it does.
you do it for a job as well. I must get back to watching more documentaries.
Matthew says Saving Titanic is great, capital letters, but Titanic Blood and Steel was a huge disappointment upon its ending.
Oh yes, well that one was done. I guess I know the guy, the director who did that one, and I think the Blood and Steel was a lot more artistic license to that one, I believe. You know, there's a lot of stories made up about Titanic and what went on here in the shipyard. A lot of it's hyped up for obviously for viewing and things like that. I just do the tour from what I know and from the facts that I've derived over the years. I try not to put too much spin on the whole thing. You know,
you've got
at the end of the day.
Facts. And Amber wanted you to know that she loved that you hadn't heard that question about the propellers for a while.
I haven't heard it for a long time. That's a very, very good question.
She does like this Titanic trivia every day during the week and talks to people.
Yeah. Oh, I need to brush up my trivia. It's been a while since I've done a bit of trivia.
Come and do trivia with Amber.
Yeah. There's a lot of inaccuracies in Titanic Blood and Steel. I need to watch it again. I haven't seen it for a while, but there's a lot of garbage on as you get on Titanic online. And there's a lot of stuff that people just do to sell their programs. You know. Now standing here, this is where the water, the 21 million gallons of water, all drains through here. These two massive big grills. Wow. So these go down about 12 feet or so into big, deep, dark tunnels, and it goes under the ground into a big tank and sucked up into the pumps, which are inside the pump house. So that's where the water goes here and here. And these are the original grills, not the bit at the top, but these are the originals from 1911.
Wow.
That's all the original grill work. This is the modern stuff we put over the top. It's just rotted away over time. But this is the real, so it's very brittle. You can't stand on it now. And that goes down. That goes down into the.
We don't want to lose you.
Tunnel. We're doing,
That's the tour guide.
I'll end up like Augustus Gloop from Willy Wonka. I'll get stuck in the pipes down there, you know.
Okay.
So these are the grills. These are the grills. Now have a look at this. I found some of the original plans from. It was from a magazine on the Engineer magazine, and I recreated them here in this. And this board, and just to show you how it all operated, I'm standing here. This is a cross section of the pump house and the dock. So I'm here, and there's the wall of the dock, which is there. There's the steps of the dock, which are arches or alder courses are called. That's them up there. Now, if these here where I'm standing is the grills. So the water went through the grills, down into the tunnel, through two hydraulic gates, under the ground, so this is all way behind the wall, and into this big sump tank filled with water. The tank full of water then the water was sucked up this pipe into the Gwynn's pumping engine, rotated round, as you can see here, and then ejected that way into the sea. So the water came in, up, around, and out. So in, up, around. That's the pumps. That's the pump room floor.
Everybody remember that. We're going to test you. Amber's going to remember that.
And this is another cross section. There's the pumps. There, pumps number 1, 2, and 3, which they had these pipes that went down into the sump tank and sucked the water up into the pumps and ejected the water outside in the sea on the other side of the building. And they did all that in 1 hour and 40 minutes. So it could empty 2 swimming pools every 60 seconds.
Oh my God.
So 21 million gallons, 1 hour, 40 minutes, 2 swimming pools every 60 seconds could be emptied out in just that time. So they're the most powerful pumps in the world at the time. Another photograph for you.
Oh my gosh.
Hope you all guys are all still with me. I'm bored of anybody.
Oh my gosh. Every time you say that, they're all like, bored. What are you crazy?
Are you crazy? Crazy?
No boredom here.
Okay, so this is another real shot here. Yes, this one here. There's Olympic in the dock. And this photograph was taken. So when I dropped the picture, this is pretty much where it was taken, okay?
Oh my gosh. Alex said, damn it, Colin, it will be a crime to be bored of this.
It would be a crime, yes.
Oh, wow. Can I see that picture again? I got
Right. So
distracted
see,
reading
you see,
comments.
you see where the two men are standing. The two men are standing in between the brown grills there. So where the brown grills are, the men are standing there in between the grills. And that's the shot you would say. As you notice the stuff that's attached to the hull. Do you notice
Is that the ones that are going into the holes down there?
Yeah. Do you see that there?
Oh.
Anybody know what these are?
All right, who knows that?
These here?
Launch cradle, Nick said.
Well done. That's the launch cradle. Well done. That's the launch cradle.
Well done,
that
Nick.
Stays with the ship. So well done, Nick. Right? You're into the Jedi mode now. You know. It's into the uber nerd there. It's just I like it. So it's a young Padawan there. So this is the cradles. That of course this is it was a hydraulic clamp that held the ship in place when she was launched. And so whenever the ship was launched from the slipway, that's her on the slipway. And so that part's bolted onto the ship, and that part's like a hydraulic clamp. So whenever Thomas Andrews got up on the platform and shouts, "Release the triggers!" This clamp is released. So it's like it holds it in place like it opens. And as that opens, the ship is all greased up with like 20 tons of grease, soap, and train oil. And then the ship will slide, hopefully, fingers crossed, astern into the sea. But that part's still bolted on, and it won't come off for another year. It comes off in here. So that's the part that's still attached to the ship. Just in case you wonder what it was, you know, attached to the ship.
Jorge said they were made of metal and wood and riveted on the ship. Is that true?
You know, if you say so. I've never held it in my hands, but I would say I would say that they probably are made of steel. You know, and definitely riveted onto the ship. That could be wood on the outside, and that's definitely riveted steel there.
Okay.
Now, here, this shot. So we're now at the end of the dry dock. We're now where we were at the start. So when I started talking to you guys, we were up there at the railings in the capstan. Now we're looking back at the door. And if you were here all them years ago, and you walked here and you stood underneath the bow of Titanic, this is the view you would have.
Oh, wow.
That's your view, right underneath the hull. As you'll see, the keel blocks are slightly further back because they didn't use the first section there. They obviously weren't there. That they obviously the keel blocks started further back for that part because they don't need them up this far.
You could create a book and we would all buy it if you held that up, took pictures, and then just sold us all a coffee table book.
That's the next plan.
We'd
maybe a Titanic then and now of the shipyard. Would you guys be my first customers? Yeah, okay.
Of course.
So that's a great shot. Great shot there. Once again of the launch cradle still on there as well. So great pictures indeed. And remember that other shot I showed you. Let's have a look. The other picture.
Matthew said, if you don't write it, he will. Ha ha.
No, Matthew, it's my idea, Matthew. Okay. So you remember this photograph earlier on?
Yeah.
Remember that picture?
Yes.
So I'm standing here. That's where I am now. That photograph was taken up there. So Robert Welsh took that picture looking down. This is where I am. This is this wall behind me. Is this curvature? I notice on the wall the numbers 1 to 36 on the wall. Those numbers there. From that time, they're still here today.
Oh my gosh.
Right up to the yellow one, 36 is the only one you can really sort of see clearly. Great picture at the bottom of the dock, below sea level. And what was, as I say before, the last place Titanic sat, her physical footprint in history. This is as close, unless you've got the money to go and see Titanic at the bottom of the ocean. This is as close as you're going to get.
He's not coming up.
This is as close you're going to get to being here, you know, to feel what it's like to work on Titanic, to be as close as you can get to her by being here at the bottom of this dry dock.
Wow.
So it really is a monumental place to be. It's a great place to work. It's been my childhood ambition, of course, to do something Titanic based. I never would have dreamed in a million years that one day I'd be the operator for the tours at the dry dock. I've shown around literally, you know, thousands and thousands of people around this shipyard, cruise ships, private tours, school trips. You know, I've been doing it now for 12 years and I still enjoy it every day. I still enjoy it. And there's never a day I would say I don't like talking about what went on here.
Amber asked if you could stand closer to the wall and look up with the camera so they could see the magnitude of how tall it is. Great.
Yeah, sure.
Comment, Amber.
Yeah, Colin, you should really make the view you made with me actually at the door when you just told me put your hands on the door and just look up. You should really do that in the end. So this is fantastic.
Oh,
I will do that for you.
Fantastic. Wow. Oh my gosh.
That's your gully. That's the gully, of course. So the water will the floor is obviously slightly angled, so the water drains off into the gullies here.
Okay. So it's like I used to have a floating basement. I don't know if it's sort of like that.
You had a floating basement?
Yeah, my house in New York. I had that edging. Wow, this is just incredible.
So walking past the one I showed you earlier, the other entrance, a bit messy, unfortunately.
Oh my gosh, you can just imagine, close your eyes and imagine the workers there.
There's the handrails.
Wow.
All still there. And you know, you look at footage of the wreck of Titanic, when you go underwater, you see the old handrails at the bottom of the ocean, and they look just like those.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. Well, they look a very similar condition. These railings have exposed to some pretty strong elements here in Belfast over the years. Maybe not like the bottom of the ocean. Oh, there's a bit of a view. This is one of the grills that's been opened up, rotted away. A bit like, once again, looking at Titanic, you know, as it rots away slowly at the bottom of the ocean. There's one of the tunnels. Can you see the tunnel? So the water goes all down here into the tunnel and eventually all connects up with the big ones over there and then into the pump house.
Oh, Amber said, thank you so much. I've been crying most of this entire tour. Jorge says, can you talk about the safe equipment for workers, if there was any?
Well, the Health and Safety Act at work didn't come into the UK. I think it was the 1920s, 23, 24, maybe a bit later. And that Health and Safety Act, which was a basic requirement for, you know, for all health and safety in industrial plants, didn't exist in Titanic's day. It was all very rudimentary and very basic stuff. There was no high-vis vest, there was no hard hats, there was no steel toe cap boots. Anytime I've seen any shipyard workers, any photographs you look, what are they wearing? A cloth cap, black slacks, a waistcoat, a flat cap. You know, there's really is no health and safety to be spoken of in Titanic's day. And that's probably why you had injuries into the hundreds. The deaths on Titanic was what, 8 men? And now 8's actually quite good and respectable for the time. But there was hundreds of injuries as well. So no, the people of those days didn't have enjoy the health and safety we enjoy today, and certainly not even the health and safety from the 1920s onwards. So no, there wasn't much health and safety that I know of in Titanic's day to protect the workers, other than basic stuff, very basic.
Matthew was wondering if you knew if anyone perished during the Olympics construction, but I'm guessing
nine people. 9 people. I believe one of them was, I think from what I remember, there was a father and son worked on Olympic and Titanic, and one of them died on the Olympic and one died in the Titanic. Father and son. So yeah, on Titanic, the first one to die was Samuel Joseph Scott.
Yeah, because someone wrote a book about him.
Yeah, he's buried up in the city cemetery, and the parents couldn't afford a graveyard or gravestone, but he eventually got one. I'll post the picture online. Anka's put the picture.
I think that was Nicola's book, The Spirit Spirit of Titanic, I think, was about him. Tim
Okay.
Trower asks, could the Thompson Graving Dock be put back into service if the need were to arise? And what would be the challenges if this were?
Oh, okay. To get this dock back into operation again, nothing's impossible if you have the right money and the will to do it. First of all, the biggest obstacle you've got is a big £2 million concrete wall on the other side of the door. On the other side of that door is that concrete wall. You'd have to destroy that completely. I don't know if they'll do that. It's a lot of money and a lot of undertaking to do that, to smash up that door. First of all, if you manage to do that, you then have to replace that door. That door needs replaced. That's another huge expense. That door is knackered. It's not going to work anymore. So you need a new door. The pumps you can get to work. The mechanical engineer of the pumps is still there. It's still all greased up. It still can work. As I said before, bad language and WD-40 will cure anything. And so, yes, it's possible. But that's your main obstacles. The door, the two doors, the concrete wall, the door is your main issues with this. Whether the keel blocks are fit for standard either, they're very old now. Whether or not they would use them, I don't know. So it would need to be something monumental, like war or something like that, something that really they needed a dock for. But up until that point, I can, this is just for us to look at. It's just for us to marvel at and to think of the old glory of the past of our shipbuilding. Now, this photograph, one of the final ones I'm going to show you today, one of my personal favorites, is this one. It's all the workers. And this is, Anka, I think this is your favorite one as well.
Yeah, this is the one where I put in Olympic and the work.
Yeah. So so have a good look, guys. This is a good look. Look at the door. See the door. See the small set of railings on the wall. Now, once again, look at the keel blocks. This is the shot coming up now. This is the shot in the same spot.
Oh, wow.
You all see that okay? Yeah. So what we have here is obviously there's the door behind. Look at the hole in the door on the right. That little drainage hole. See it there?
Oh, yeah.
There it is there. There it is. Now, where the men are standing, they're standing where the small silver steps are. A wee small set of steps. That's where they are in the picture.
Gosh.
Now look at the keel blocks. The keel blocks on the left, there they are.
Is this a Robert Welsh picture too?
Oh, they're all Robert Welsh. They're the classics. They're nothing but the best. All Robert Welsh. So there's the shot, obviously, of your wing propeller, your center propeller, and there, of course, is your keel blocks, as you can see. This is Olympic, of course, because if you look in carefully, you can see the number 400 on the propeller blade.
Oh,
there's this there, 400. That's obviously 400 the yards. There's the German crane at the top, just poking over the top of the door. It was over the top of the door. That's Hercules. It obviously has lowered the propeller blades over and attached them onto the hub of the propeller hub there onto the ship. So there's the guys obviously proudly finished a day's work in attaching the propeller blades. What a great shot that is. And of course, there's your overlapping keel plates. Those hull plates looking exactly the same way as the door is today.
Wow.
Now let's go and have a look at the door. Anka, I'm going to do that. Looking up at the door.
Oh yeah,
look,
because it's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. John Clifford was wondering if there was any bombing damage to the dock during World War II.
This dock didn't suffer any, but I know some of the shipyard did have some bomb damage, but most of the damage to the shipyard was minimal. Obviously the Luftwaffe was aiming for the shipyard, but a lot of it missed and hit a lot of houses in East Belfast and killed nearly over 1,000 people were killed in the bombing raids. And so the shipyard didn't suffer much damage at all. Okay. But that was the target. They just didn't worry about it. It was the days before laser guided bombs. It was more really the houses of East Belfast and some in Belfast that got the damage, but the shipyard didn't get much.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Everyone is saying things like, this is amazing. Thank
the
you.
wall again. We're going back to the door.
Thank you.
So this is the door. Now we're up to, as you can see, this door is like an old person. Oh, old wrinkles, old cracks.
Oh my gosh.
So imagine, you've probably seen James Cameron and Robert Ballard stand as cool as I'm standing now against the door doing a publicity shot, you see. off against the door of the dock. It's really a cool place to be. This door, when I look at it, just reminds me of the Titanic. As I said, it's built with the same guys, the same men, same steel, same time, same rivets, same way, 1 inch thick, clinker built, overlapping, hull plates. And there's all your rivets. You might as well have raised Titanic out of the sea and be standing by now, because this is exactly what you would look like.
Well, it makes me
This
think
door,
of the
course,
big piece that's in Vegas, but it must have been cleaned
it's
up,
big,
obviously, because it does not look like that. It's
Well, you
very.
see, you could take a bit off this and you could palm it off as the Titanic and you can sell it. Don't bother, that was a joke.
Oh, people would sell everything.
So what we have here, of course, the dry dock door is made of steel, but it's also covered with tar. So that, as you can see, is tar. See? Makes it waterproof. That's all bits of bitumen and tar that's made it look as old as it does. Now, this door, if you imagine being lowered down by the boat deck, which is what, about 100 feet up or so, imagine you're being lowered down by the lifeboats and you have to look back up at the hull, back up to the deck.
Oh my gosh.
Titanic's boat deck's nearly twice that height.
Wow, that's a great shot right there. Oh, you got to put that shot in your book, Colin, when you put it
Oh,
up.
yeah, definitely will. Now, one last thing before I go up and we finish off. But if you look at the door from here to here, now it helps with the collision. When Titanic struck the iceberg, as you know, it opened 5 compartments to the sea, and it was some 300 feet of damage. And this helps us with the Titanic collision, giving you an idea of the size. Because whenever Titanic hit the iceberg, the 300 feet were open to the sea, and this door helps us with that kind of damage. Because if you look at the door, imagine this door is the Titanic, and that's the bow heading to the stern. This door is 100 feet wide, and the damage to Titanic was 300 feet. So I want you to imagine the iceberg. Imagine the iceberg. Imagine the iceberg strikes the door, and it opens up, bends, opens up every plate on this door. But of course, the damage is 3 times the length. So imagine the iceberg opens every plate on this door, another one, and another one. And that's the amount of damage that was done to the ship. So 3 of these doors was the damage. So when Thomas Anders came below decks, he noticed and seen that there was about 14 feet of water. Now, you see the numbers on the wall? On the left-hand side, 1 to 14. Coming down below decks, looking over the railings, and seeing 14 feet of water in what, about 10 minutes or so? 10, 15 minutes? Was it 14 feet of water? That's the kind of damage we're talking about. That's the kind of distances and the height and the depth you're talking about. That much water in just minutes.
Oh, wow. And just the power of the water, too.
Workouts that the ship would only last a couple of hours.
So she's lucky she lasted that long.
So I'm going to head back up, guys, and
while you're walking, Tim Trower would like to know, had the Oceanic 3 of 1928 been built, would this graving dock have been used for her? That ship was
yes.
1,000 feet between perpendiculars, but would have had a 100-foot beam.
Now, what was the length of the ship again?
He said 100 feet between perpendiculars.
100 feet wide?
I guess that's what he means. But
And
would have had.
What was the length? What was the length of the ship?
I might have to just unmute him. Hold on, let me find Tim Trower. We could let him ask that himself. Hold on, Tim. Tim, I'm gonna unmute you if I can find you, unless Anka can find you first.
Well, there's roughly 1.5 feet in length, 1,000.
Oh, here we go. Okay, you're unmuted.
100-foot beam. So 1,050 now. There we go. So
I unmuted Tim, so he could ask you. Tim, go ahead. Tim, are you there? Did I not unmute you?
I don't know. He doesn't have a microphone. So it's 1,050 feet. 1,050.
It wouldn't fit in this
Thank
dock.
you, Anka.
It wouldn't fit in this dock. No way.
It wouldn't fit. Okay.
No, had in our dock for that one.
All right. Thank you for.
I don't know which dock I would have fit it into. But anyway, so top us off, nice. Top us off.
Take a breath.
Those steps, I tell you.
That was really impressive, Colin. Gosh, I wish I could hand you a cold drink or something, or go take you out for.
Oh, I'll go home for a beer. So,
Okay.
now, once Titanic left this dock, toward the end of March of 1912, she had to do her sea trials, you know, on the 2nd of April, so she would have left from here, sailed off down the Belfast Lock, and then by about 8 o'clock that night, she set off for good towards Southampton, obviously for the start of her maiden voyage, and of course her first and only voyage. And this is the last photograph taken of Titanic as she set sail down the Belfast Lock. There she goes.
Oh, I have a print somewhere. I love.
So that's where the story kind of ends for Belfast, sort of with this photograph, you know, as it sets sail off into history. I would only last 12 days before, of course, she was at the bottom of the ocean. So this dry dock, the slipways, the drawing rooms, I mean, we can do a tour again sometime of the slipways and dry dock or drawing offices in the hotel when it opens again. But this part of the story is the part where we built the most successful ships in the world. What happened after, of course, we don't tend to take the blame for her. That's why we have a saying in Belfast that she was all right when she left here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Anka's wearing that shirt at the moment.
Exactly. So the humorous story here, of course, is this: what happens when you hand your beautiful ship over to an English captain, a Scottish navigator, and a Canadian iceberg. This is the humorous line that you give the tourists all the time. But what we say is that Titanic was a successful vessel. But what happened to her? Titanic wasn't a disaster. What happened to her was a disaster. But she wasn't a disaster. She was a wonderful vessel, like the Olympic, and the Britannic was as well. Unfortunately, those vessels just had some seriously bad luck and unfortunate timing with Titanic and the iceberg, and of course Britannic and the war. And you know, to be honest with you, if Titanic had survived the iceberg or it never happened, she would have ended up in the war like Olympic, and she would eventually end up being scrapped, you know, if she'd survived the war. So, and we would never have heard of the Titanic. We never have heard of her.
Talk about that.
You know, the Titanic.
We would have met each other.
But what the Titanic story does is it provides a hook for guys like yourselves to get involved in a much wider story of engineering, innovation, and at a time when this dry dock was the biggest in the world, when our shipyard was producing the biggest amount of ships, not just for liners, but for military vessels for the war, and at a time when Harland Wolff was the biggest in the world with our massive cranes of Samson and Goliath, H&W, Harland and Wolff, you know, a shipyard that began back in 1862 by an English engineer from Scarborough and a German, obviously, architect called Gustav Wolff, and the rest is history. We've built almost 1,500 ships, but there's just one ship that really everybody wants to know about, and that's ship number 401, and that's the RMS Titanic that began her voyage here at this shipyard, and of course the final parts of her story here in this massive footprint for Titanic. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the tour. And honestly, you guys are always welcome to come to Belfast. If you have any questions for me, I will do my best. You can send me them privately as well. I'll try my best to answer them for you and get through them.
Yeah, and he's in the friends group too, guys.
Yes, I'm on the friends group. Anything you need to know. I've been doing the tours about 12 years now, so if there's any little quirky things you need to know, I'll do my best to answer them. But ultimately, when this mad lockdown is over and we all get back to normal, it'll be next year, I'm sure, and we all get a vaccine and all the rest of it.
Yes.
You guys are always, you're welcome. You're welcome to come here. Organize a group, get yourselves together, come on over, and we'll do a whole Titanic themed time here in Belfast. It's a great place to be.
We gotta organize a gathering.
Because sometimes, guys, what happens is when you live here, you take it for granted. You were born in Titanic Town. You take it for granted. The big dry docks just down the road, the old slipways, the drawing rooms. We built the Titanic, but it was all right when she left here. We get used to it being here, but you guys don't live here. So for you guys, you kind of get me inspired again, because I kind of forget what it's like to have an icon on the doorstep because we live here. So sometimes you don't appreciate what you have whenever you live here. I think that's probably That's probably normal for everybody.
Yeah, I live near Niagara Falls, and some people are like, "Oh, it's always there."
Exactly.
But not as
So,
exciting as Titanic. But don't
So
leave
if-
because Anka wants to give you a
yeah.
thank you.
Go
But
ahead.
I want to I didn't want to interrupt you if you wanted to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think I'm sorry, that's well, I think I'm talking for everybody here when I say thank you so damn much for this great tour. So it really was a pleasure to see you again, at least in this way. So I really hope it will work in October. And we two can just walk there again. And well, I want to see the pump house. Didn't get that last time.
That's right, because it was closed the last time. Yeah, I'm sorry we can't see it because it's all closed up. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But we will do that for sure. We will. So I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
Love her.
Tell you that we really appreciate what we did. We just so everybody of us donated a little thing for you. So we have collected a little money for you. Well, it's not that.
We want you to go out and get a nice meal and a drink.
You're too kind. You're too kind. That's too much. Guys, thank you so much. You didn't have to
maybe
do
you
all
can't
that.
yet. You're probably locked down.
You know, I told all these people it's totally worth it because Colin is the best one doing these tours. Yeah, well, it's still open, so I will receive a little bit more money today, I think. And I hope you have PayPal. So if you have, so let me know your email address.
Yeah. That's right. That's really, really kind of you because there is no work at all at the moment. All my work is gone because of we lost huge. I mean, huge amounts of work we've lost for Titanic. My brother and I also run the Jack the Ripper tour over in London, and we got wiped out there as well. So if any of you guys are interested in Jack the Ripper, you're welcome to come to London and join our tour. If any of you guys are interested in Amelia Earhart, I'm a director of a project called the Stratus Project, which is to search for Amelia Earhart's plane in the Pacific Ocean. So if anybody's interested in that as well, you can always ask me about the project. And also one on Amy Johnson, who is the British Amelia Earhart who went down in the Thames. So we have our fingers in a few pies to do with mysteries and things like that. But any questions at all, you can fire away. More than welcome. And thank you so much for joining me today. Any questions before I go?
Yeah, any questions?
Any questions?
Guys? Matthew's got 1 million, so you need to.
Hey, Matthew, you're the number one guy for the questions.
You should do that in a private chat. So Matthew will just make a cheesy cake out of you, so you have just holes in your body after.
We need a Q&A with Colin where you can sit down and drink a beer and answer our questions.
If you want to do that, if you want to have a quick look inside the, this is the pump house. Obviously, this part of the pump house.
Please.
This is where the boilers were.
Alex has
the boilers
401
were used, and the pumps were in the middle. This part is now turned into a cafe. Sorry. This part is turned into a cafe, and this is the cafe I used to run for years before it got taken over.
Gosh, really?
This is where the boilers were.
Oh, wow.
That area you see, the area you're looking at there, is where the boilers used to be in Titanic's day to power the pumps. Okay, so I'll show you. So I used to run this cafe for a long time.
Oh, wow.
And you can see it's writing on the wall there says blood, sweat, and years.
Oh my gosh. Look at that. That's the diet coming out of the reflection. That's beautiful.
Yeah, so hopefully when you guys come here, the lockdown will be over. The new owner is a millionaire wanting to convert this place into a beautiful restaurant and bar.
Oh.
So this is where the pumps are. You can't see the pumps because the pumps are down about 35 feet, but the pumps are down there.
Oh my gosh.
There's a big pump well. And they're way down the bottom of the pump well. I don't know if you can see anything there, but they're way down the bottom. I don't know if you can see anything.
I will make tons of photos and show them when I'm there in October.
So that's where the pumps are. The pumps are in there. They're in there.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Oh.
So of course we can't get in there, but at the moment. So, any questions before I go? Any questions?
Is there access to what used to be the Musgrave Yard?
No, not to my knowledge, there's not. I don't think so. I think it's still a working area over there. So I haven't been, and I don't think there is any access to it at all. But I can always find out for you. Always have a look. It's always changing. It's always changing.
Well, Colin said, John said, Colin also showed us how silly it is to believe that Olympic and Titanic could have been switched. So I was thinking that same thing when you're pointing out numbers on things.
Yeah, listen, you couldn't keep, this is Ireland. You couldn't keep a secret like that in Ireland. The Irish love to talk. They would never have kept a secret like that. The minute they got down to the bar, you know, Jimmy would have told Billy. Billy would have told Peter. Peter would have told Simon. And before you know it, you have to remember, in Ireland, we are our own psychiatrists here. We don't go to psychiatrists. Our problems. And they tell everybody else around the street, he knows about your problems and you've got no more problem. It's kind of how it works in Ireland, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So there's no way they could have kept a secret, like switching those two ships. Where that probably comes from, of course, whenever they obviously they scavenged some parts off Titanic for the Olympic, probably whenever she had the accident with the HMS Hawk. There was some rumor, of course, of some parts being taken for the Olympic because of that accident. And I think that was the genesis of that story, that some parts were taken from Titanic for Olympic because of the accident with the Hawk. Before you know it, this story grew legs. And before you know it, they didn't just take some parts, they swapped the whole ship over in some ridiculous insurance scam. And what the problem is, once it gets hold of people, like a flat earth thing, you know, once it kind of gets a grip, some people sit home and go, oh, that's quite interesting. Maybe it is true. And before you know it,
I know.
and I get it all the
Titanic
time.
people like a
show.
good controversy.
For the last 12 years, people still ask me, did they swap the ships over? Was there a coal fire on board? Did a coal fire sink the Titanic? All this stuff, you know. It's actually getting worse.
I want to come up with a theory. It might make me
going on.
famous.
There's more conspiracy theories now, and more people believe it.
Yeah. I don't want to make
So also is asking if you can show him your logo on your jacket.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Titanic walking tour. Hey, it's like Dave Gardner does a walking tour in New York City. If you're ever in New York City, Colin.
Not just on the breast there and on the coat too.
Like that. Oh,
yeah, you like it. You like
that. That's nice.
I'll have them for sale on your website by tonight.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
I never thought about selling them either. You know, it's a good idea. But no, it's there's some nice. We used to sell these in the shop years ago of merchandise and things like that. But this tour is born out of passion and enthusiasm for the story and living here in Belfast to tell that story. So if any of you guys are coming over, just look me up, give me a shout if I'm free.
Yeah, do you have like a business card or something you could put up in the group?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I have one. I still have it in my wallet.
Okay,
I still have it in my
great.
wallet.
We could throw that in our files, and people can access it.
I forgot to bring it. I've got James Cameron's business card.
Oh.
And I have a photo of it. Yes, I saw that. He really has.
Oh, you want to see that? Colin, do you mind if I unmute everybody for a minute? It might be a little overwhelming, but okay. All right, guys.
You guys have disappeared.
Unmuting all.
Not all together at once.
We're free.
Thank you, Colin.
We're free.
Where are you right now, Bruce?
Signal.
Hang on, is this the moon? Okay, my mic still works. Yeah, Colin.
Raise the hand kind of thing. If you're not talking, maybe mute.
Oh dear.
Background noise. Alex,
Colin,
Amber,
hello.
I just wanted to tell you thank you so much.
That's okay.
Hold on, I'm gonna mute it up
lost
again.
the signal there.
You guys raise your hand if you want. I'm gonna Amber, I'm gonna put you on. Sorry, I guess that was just too loud, but I'm gonna unmute Amber here because I could hear her trying to sneak in.
Just one after the other would be just better, I guess.
Yeah, we'll do people want to go ahead, Amber. We'll start you out.
Okay. Hi, Colin. This is Amber, and I just wanted to thank you so much for the tour. I will. That was the closest I will ever get there, and I went through many tissues crying. It was so beautiful. Thank you so much. And anytime you want to join the Titanic trivia, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern. I don't know what we can figure out the time zone for you, but I would love to have you.
Jill, unmute Colin, please. He's muted. He cannot answer.
No. Can you, let's see.
Wait a minute, Colin. You are muted. You will be unmuted in a minute.
You can unmute people too, just so you know.
Yeah, but I don't know how. Never
Oh,
did
all
it.
right. Let's. Sorry, Colin. Poor thing.
There we go.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay.
Thanks.
No, I heard Amber. Yeah, I heard about joining the Titanic trivia. That's cool. Yeah. I'll have to brush up.
I know. I get in there and I'm like, wait, what?
I like your background there that you had of the grand staircase background.
Thank you.
Some pretty cool backgrounds you got there.
If I move it wrong, then it's all fuzzy. I have to hold it a certain way so it looks not fuzzy.
You're the girl that has the comb, Rose's comb in the back of her hair.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yep, I am. You saw that part?
Yeah.
He was in the live stream.
I saw it earlier on. I thought, hey, what's going on here?
Okay, hold on. It's being weird.
What have I let myself in for?
I'm going to unmute Terry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Terry.
I forgot what it was. Oh, you have any, I guess, any kind of opinion or resentment against Captain Lord and the Californian?
Oh man, it's a two-way street, that one, because obviously you got a ship that's giving ice warnings, and then you got one that switches its radio off and doesn't do anything. So you got two sides of the story there. Do I blame Captain Stanley Lord? In a way, in my personal opinion, yes, he has to share responsibility of the blame. When you read the transcripts, and I've seen the court case played out in drama here in Belfast, you know, they can clearly see the ship. They can see the rockets. They even note that the ship looked queer in the water. You know, there was numerous red flags that were there for them to see, and nothing was done. You know, so I don't think they should dump all the blame on them.
No,
but they certainly had. No, I don't believe they think they should have all the blame dumped on them. Same as Bruce Ismay, he shouldn't get all the blame either on certain things. But definitely,
Ismay was the other one.
Yeah, Ismay's the other question. Well, first of all, with that one, yeah, I think they did share responsibility. Secondly, the Bruce Ismay one's a tough one because you have a man who has obviously stayed to the very end,
right?
Helping women and children into the boats. He is human like me. He has children to go home to. I think the vilification of him has been very extreme. I say that as a British person because the British didn't criticize Bruce Ismay. The British judge thought that by blaming Ismay, or if Ismay had have stayed on board, he would have added one more name to the death toll, namely his own. But unfortunately, so I think they've been roundly. I think Bruce Ismay has been vilified much more than what he ever should have done. Should an owner of the ship go down with the vessel, or is that the domain of the crew and the captain and those in charge? I don't know if there's an answer to that question. Does the owner of the vessel, should he die as well? Well, at the end of the day, apparently there was a place in the boat and he didn't take anybody else's place. So I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer to it. I think the American press, with William Randolph Hearst and the rest of them, did such a great job at vilifying him. I think that mud has stuck to him for the rest of his life. I don't think I'd be right to judge any man to say he should die or not.
That's how I feel.
Now, if it comes to people like the captain of the Costa Concordia, yes, absolutely.
That guy was an idiot.
100% guilty. First guys to leave the ship, gets into the lifeboat and is shouted at by the harbor office guys to get the harbor patrol to get back to the ship again. So yes, 100% guilty. Was Bruce Ismay? Not the same thing. I don't think so. But that's my opinion.
Thank you.
Quickly go back to Lord. Go back to
What's
Lord. I think he definitely should have come. There's no question in my mind, Captain Lord, she should have come. There's no question about that.
Yes.
I don't think he's responsible for 1,496 deaths. I think he could have picked up some some more he would definitely pick up some more passengers. But I don't think he's responsible for the responsibility.
I don't think you can dump the whole lot on him.
That's why
I think he definitely failed monumentally in his own writing to pick up the rockets, to pick up the strange angle of the ship and everything else. There was a lot of things that he missed that, yes, he would be vilified for, rightly so, but not. I wouldn't give him the 100% dumped on him. So hopefully that answers your question. There's no right and wrong answers in a lot of these things, by the way. A lot of these things are open to a lot of interpretation, and I don't know what any of us would do in these circumstances, and I hope none of us are ever put to that test.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Right,
So
Alex wanted to ask you something, and feel free to say, okay, I'm done. Ask me later on the.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
But I've got Alex and then Jake and Elena.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Alex.
I don't really have anything to ask. I just want to thank you for the tour.
That's all right.
I came here like 3 years ago. No, it's September 2017 it was, and being at this place was just something else for me entirely. Like flying all the way from New Zealand to be in the dry dock, the museum, the nomadic. And I mean, I wasn't exactly on a tour, but I accidentally joined a tour guide on that just happened to be down there. They just insisted on me joining. I was like, I didn't pay for this, but okay, if you want me, you want me. I mean, I just stayed till they got out of the dry dock. That was very flattering.
So you were here. Oh
yeah.
Which tour is this? A tour guide, a tour of the dock that you just seen? Was it a tour of the dock?
I can't exactly remember. This woman it seemed to be a private tour group because once they were done, they didn't actually exit through the cafe. There was a bus pulling up next to them as they were exiting. That's all I can remember.
Okay. Do you remember who the guide was?
I'm trying to.
Remember who the tour guide was?
I don't think I can. No? I wish I did.
Well, it was not you, because he would remember you, Colin.
Yeah, I would definitely remember you.
It's probably. I think Ashlyn, are you still here? Ashlyn, are you on?
Let me unmute.
Yeah,
let me
unmute her. Was she really short?
Thanks, Colin. Yeah, it was probably me. I was the only female guide 3 years ago, so if it was a girl, it must have been me, unless someone was sneaking in doing tours.
Well, do you remember you were there was this guy just talking about the ship as well, and you were telling the guys you need this guy's attitude, because if that was you, then yeah, good lord. Because apparently I was the only one in the group I joined by accident, saying, "Oh, how can you not have the enthusiasm of Alex?" I'm just saying that's literally what I remember.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, we get people on the tour all the time who don't even want to be there, and it just really annoys us.
It's the same with where I work at the airport. They're just people that just don't care they're flying and all that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's Ashlyn's our other guide. Ashlyn's our tour guide. Thank you, Ashlyn, for joining us.
Thank you, Ashlyn.
Thanks for that clarification. If that actually was you back in September of 2017.
Oh, we should have.
That's probably her.
Co-hosted her.
You may not be able to see her.
I think it was me, Alex. I think it was me.
Yeah, it was because you just left with all the other guys on some bus leaving the dry dock, and I thought, yep, this is my cue to not push the luck.
Oh, all right.
Good idea. Good idea.
We're gonna unmute Jake here, and then
okay, you unmute. Thank you once again.
Jake, I'm unmuting you.
Not sleeping.
Who's next?
Jake, I can't unmute you. Okay, Jake, are you unmuted? Jake?
Yeah, give me.
Okay.
Oh, Jake.
Go ahead, Jake. You're on the floor. Jake, did he mute himself?
Jake, you still there? I can't hear Jake.
I think he must have.
Yeah,
Hi.
There you go.
I'm back. Sorry, I was having some technical issues there.
Technicals.
Yeah, just to say, thank you for doing this tour. I have been to Belfast twice now. I came in 2016 for the first time, but I didn't get to go down to the Thompson dry dock, so I sort of kicked myself in the shins there. And then I came back in 2018 for the anniversary of the sinking, and I went on the A Night to Remember tour. And we went on the shipyard, and we did a candlelight memorial to those that,
Oh, okay.
that died.
I,
Yeah, it was amazing. It was really
oh,
cool.
Austin was on
I
that one.
also
I
got
think,
to
and
meet a lot of
just
descendants from the Titanic, so that was cool.
yeah.
My question would be, everybody sort of knows about Thomas Andrews and his relationship with Piri, but what at the start of the story of the Titanic's construction, Alexander Carlisle, which was Lord Piri's brother-in-law, was the main
Brother-in-law, yeah.
man. My question would be, what was the relationship between Piri, and what was the reasons for him leaving the company? Because I've heard that there was some sort of tension between Piri and that he just gave up in the end.
I think there was yes, people think, you know, Thomas Andrews was the designer of Titanic, and that's not exactly true. The key people in the story are Piri and Carlisle. That's your big ship's designers there. Andrews obviously was a ship's designer. He certainly was a brilliant engineer and somebody who's greatly respected. But it's a very romanticized story to say that Thomas was the designer of Titanic. The designer of Olympic and Titanic and Britannic, or just Olympic, really, you could say, was Piri and Carlisle. The issue was with Alexander Carlisle was, from what I've understood, what I've read, what I've seen, is the size of these liners that were coming along exposed a safety issue with the ships. These ships were all the people who oversaw the health and safety was the Board of Trade. The Board of Trade had rules that were out of date by about 20 years. And so whenever it came to obviously putting the right amount of lifeboats on, Carlisle had designed the Olympic to have, I believe it was 64 boats. You know, it's a lot of boats for the ship, and certainly plenty for the passengers and more. I think that's where the start of the fallout began, because it really was, this was a huge order for them. They wanted it to be a successful trio of ships, certainly against their competition. And the Perry didn't see the reason for having to have that many boats, because legally they didn't have to. But Carlisle was practical and said that basically that it doesn't matter what the rules say, these ships need to have this amount. So after much arguing, it went down to 48 boats. After more disagreements, it went down to, I think, 24 boats. And eventually it came in at 16 boats plus 4 collapsibles was the eventual. Actually, the rules said any ship that was 10,000 tons and more had to have 16 boats. And they added an extra 4 on, which went beyond the rules. And Perry was happy with that. From what I understand, Carlisle walked off the project and never worked on a ship again, from what I understand. I could be wrong there. But I think that's what I think the issue was over the glaring health and safety issues of these much bigger liners. You know, I hope that helps to answer the question, you know.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, Elena said she had to get going. If anybody else had anything to say, I don't see. Oh, John has his hand up. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, Colin, because you mentioned it. I remember on Titanic, Death of a Dream, Legend Live On, Walter Lord pointed out how quickly the shipping companies started saying we need to have lifeboat capacity for everybody. I remember on another documentary, Harold Sanderson, one of the White Star Line officials, still felt, you know, wasn't going to be necessary to lifeboat capacity for everyone. But I think, as they said, they figured, oh, these ships could stay up long enough, or Ruth Becker's mom, oh, we've got the compartments that'll keep us afloat till help arrives. But they did, was the jarring wake-up call.
Yes, because the attitude, the idea at the time was that, first of all, the shipping lanes were very busy, so they were very confident that the ship could get there in time. Secondly, that they used the lifeboats were just an idea to transfer people from one ship to another. They were never designed to accommodate everybody on board the lifeboats. That was another glaring issue. Thirdly, as well, the attitude that the Board of Trade's rules were out of date by many years. They had a lot of more confidence in their ships at the time. Obviously, the whole practically unsinkable comments or virtually unsinkable, and the watertight compartments. And I have a feeling that obviously they were overconfident in their attitude toward what they had. And you said the Titanic was a wake-up call and exposed the weaknesses in that system. A ship that strikes an iceberg so big, such a big ship, that would never dream of opening up, 5 compartments, 300 feet of the hull? Such a thing's unheard of. Would be unheard of. So they designed these vessels that they didn't need to put a top on them. The principle of water, what's going to open more than 4 compartments of your ship? We don't need enough to hold 2, put a hole in it. But they never thought of this slicing action from an iceberg. They never thought that the nearest ship would be 4 hours away, They never conceived of that kind of disaster happening to a ship. And the way disasters are, disasters find a way into everything and will expose. And that's what Titanic's done. It exposed the failings. And I guess the only positive thing after Titanic was that health and safety at sea, right down to the day, is much safer because of it. If that answers obviously your question. The Titanic was a safe ship. It was a safe ship for its time. The accident that happened to Titanic was a complete one-off. I don't think it's ever really been repeated, other than maybe Costa Concordia and stuff like that. But incredible rarity for what happened to it. But it just happened to happen to not just the world's largest ship, but on its maiden voyage, and carrying a microcosm of all the first, second, and third class passengers from society. You couldn't make it up in a movie. You know what I mean? You really couldn't. And here you have it acting out in real life. So, and that's why people are completely stunned with the story, and they continue to be drawn to it every year that people discover it. It's an incredible thing happened to that ship, Okay, sorry.
All right, we've got one more person here. David has his hand up. David, I'm going to unmute you.
Yep, here I am. Hello, Colin. Just wanted to thank you for doing the tour. I hope to get out to Belfast as soon as I can, as soon as money allows.
Yes.
And COVID allows. I just had a quick question about of all the tours that you've done, was there any moment in all the tours that really stands out for you among the rest? Was there anything unusual in any of the tours, some of the people that surprised you or anything? Or
Colin, there's only one right answer. Telling my name now. So, there's only one right answer now.
Other than Anka being on the tour. No. I know if Ashton's still listening, she knows exactly what story I'm going to tell here in this one.
Oh yeah, I do.
Okay, are you still there? Is he still there? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So the story basically what happened was I was on the tour.
Yes, he's still there.
I asked him. Okay. So the story basically was that I was on the tour. I've done lots of tours, thousands of them, thousands of people. And there's one that stands out in my mind. And I was on this tour, and we were walking from the Titanic Centre down to the dry dock. We're out in the Queen's Road, and a big kind of group of about 25, 30 people. But on this tour, there was a very excitable American family. Okay. And there was a husband, wife, and 2 kids. They're very excited about the tour, overly excited, more than most people were on the tour. So I was like, oh, I'm glad you're enjoying it. And everybody was enjoying it. But the husband came up to me and says, oh, Colin, we've been, I'm sorry about the American accent, but he's like, Colin, we love your tour. It's amazing. Oh, fantastic, awesome tour you're doing today. And it's wow. My wife and I, Candace and Brad and Chad, for American names, says, America, we love this tour. It's the best tour I've ever been on. But listen, we're so excited. We've been planning it for a long, long time. And I'm like, well, that's great. I'm glad you have. But tell me, Colin, there's something we want to know, because we've been building up for a long time. And the excitement is so much to be in this tour. And I thought to myself, there's something weird going on there. These people are overly excited. So he turned around to me and he said, Colin, listen, I know it's an exciting thing and a secret, but you can tell me before my wife and kids find out. But at what point in the tour do we get to see the Titanic?
Oh gosh.
I love this hear this story
So,
again.
at
Oh,
what point in
it's
the tour?
damn cool.
What point in the tour do we get to see the Titanic?
Oh,
And I says, what do you mean? He says, well, it's in the dry dock at the end of the tour, yeah. No, no, it's not on the tour. The Titanic's at the bottom of the ocean. He says, no. I thought you raced it. That's I thought the 100th anniversary was all about in Belfast. Going to see Titanic, and I says, no. So what's in the dry dock? I says, nothing in the dry dock. What's just an empty dock? Yeah, it's an empty dock. Well, why would we do a tour of an empty dock? Because it's where Titanic sat. It's where it was built.
Oh my God.
I said the tour's £12. It's £12 for the tour. I mean, if Titanic was on the tour, I'd be a retired millionaire in my helicopter, flying overhead, looking down, making serious cha-ching, you know.
Oh my gosh.
So a true story.
Thanks, Jill.
And I've had that more than once. At what point in the tour do we see the Titanic? So there you go. So there is some people, and to add to that, who actually believe that they didn't realize that the Titanic movie was a real story. We still get people.
I was one of those.
We still.
I just want to tell you, I was not the person asking where's Titanic now. It was not me. He's not talking about me.
I saw a woman.
No, it wasn't I. Don't worry.
I saw a woman at the Belfast Museum looking for Rose's name. Where's Rose's name? Where's her name?
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, we've had that too. We've had people who think that HMS Caroline over here.
Oh.
There. That's a warship from First World War. We've had people have asked, is that the Titanic?
Oh,
and I have to explain to them, no, it's a warship.
Oh, it's looking so similar.
Is that Titanic?
Very similar.
And I would say, yeah, it is. We raised it from the ocean floor. We raised it from the ocean floor, cut it in half, painted it grey, and disguised it as a warship, because that's the kind of humor we have in Belfast. No, of course we didn't. It's a warship, for God's sake. And so we get the daft questions like that. The pumps inside the pump house, well, are they Titanic's engines? Are they the engines from Titanic? No, they're pumps. We have other daft ideas. Ashton had one, if Ashton's still there. A professor was on her tour and asked Ashlyn, where on the Titanic did they keep all the food? And she said, down in the hold. So where would they keep all the sheep and the cows on the ship for the food and the milk?
Nice.
And Ashlyn was like, but it's not Noah's Ark, you know. In 1912, we were quite advanced, you know. We had refrigeration, we had meat that was cut up. So this professor thought that they had animals on board Titanic to feed the passengers. Oh man, sorry. It is, yeah. Now, any questions before I go?
Yeah, Brianna's next.
Yes.
Colin, up quickly
Ashton,
before
go
you.
ahead.
Yeah, I want to tell my favorite story. The one about the guy who rang up at night.
What?
Tell the story about the guy who rang up at night.
Oh, do you want me to tell that one, do you?
Yeah, I like that story.
Okay.
Go ahead. We are excited.
Okay, so
I don't know this one.
Okay, so
Maybe don't do the accent.
I'll say, hey, Chinese people there, don't take offense. So we had the tour back in 2012. It ran from the Premier Inn Hotel, and it ran at 11 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So 11 and 2 every day. So, so one night at about 2:05 in the morning, I received this phone call at the house. There was this Chinese guy on the phone. I'm sorry for the accent, but he's like, excuse me, Mr. Cobb, are you a Titanic walking to us? I says, yes, yes, I am. It's 2 in the morning. Where are you? I wait for you at hotel. No one here. I said, but the tour's 11 and 2. Well, I'm here. I'm here now at 2 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock now. No, it's 2 in the afternoon, the tour, not 2 at night. You don't do tour at 2 in the morning? No, not 2 in the morning. 2 in the afternoon, 11 and 2. He was down. I had the hotel ring me at 2 a.m. asking me for the tour. Hold on. I'll just get out of bed. I'll just get out of bed now. Let me get my jeans on. I'll be there. Let's not forget the flashlight. The flashlight, because I don't know if you know, but at 2 a.m. in Belfast, it's dark. Actually, at 2 a.m, it's always dark here.
crying.
So
Why would anyone do that at that hour of the morning?
Come on, let's go around the shipyard at night. Oh, hold on. Let's be careful. There's a big hole around here we might fall into. It's called a dry dock. You need to be careful. Hold on, turn my torch on at 2 a.m. Jeez Louise. So yeah, when you work in tourism, you do meet all sorts of of people. Sorry if I offended anybody.
All kinds of people.
Chinese accent or something.
Oh my gosh.
One of my
story ever.
Okay, that's made my morning.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ones
Yes.
was someone came up to me and asked me what time is the 3 o'clock tour.
The classic. What time is 3 o'clock tour? Yeah. It's a 4.
Yeah, and Colin, there were people at the 1998 PHS convention who's like, well, when are Leo and Kate going to be coming to speak? And we're like,
I didn't catch that though. You just broke up there and said it again.
Yeah. Also at the Molly Brown House in Denver, and Jill could understand this.
Yeah.
They show this grand piano in the living room area. People were saying, did she bring that over on the Titanic? It's like, yeah, we have a special license just to carry the piano and all these other big items.
Oh man!
One of my friends.
The piano took up spaces in the lifeboat. You know.
Yeah.
There was extra people died because of Molly Brown's piano that was in the lifeboat.
Oh God.
The hell with the passengers. Make room for the piano.
Yeah.
And must play on.
Brianna, I'm going to spotlight you. You've been so patiently with your hand up there.
Yeah, maybe we should mute everybody else again, Jill, because it's a little bit confusing.
You're good.
Okay,
Colin,
so,
I just
wait, hold on, Brianna. I had to mute.
Who's next?
Okay, go for it.
Who's next?
Me?
I can't see you. I can't see anybody. But go on.
Okay, am I going?
Yeah, you are, but I have to mute everybody.
Is this
go ahead.
Who's this?
I'm Brianna. Colin.
Hello, Brianna.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you so much for this opportunity. This was incredible. And to hear your accent, you remind me of my grandma. She had an Irish accent. She was born in Belfast, and her father worked at Harland and Wolff. And
all right.
Just to have this amazing history. Yeah, it is fascinating. I unfortunately was one of those people. I was young. I was in 3rd grade that thought that Titanic was actually just a movie. But then when I finally did research, I instantly just became obsessed, and even to this day. And I have
your grandmother, your granny and granddad are from Belfast.
Yes, and I hope to get there one day. Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna have to come over. My goodness, if they're from Belfast, you need to make a homecoming. You need to make a homecoming to Belfast. It'll be like JFK visiting Ireland. You know, it'll be you come visit your cousins.
Yes, exactly. Just to hear your voice. Oh my goodness, it's amazing. She's passed away.
Well,
she
I hope
passed
it
away
wasn't
a few years ago, but.
And did she live in Belfast her whole life, or did she move away from Belfast years ago?
She met her husband, my grandpa, while he was serving a mission for his religion, for his church. And when he was finished, he brought her over to America, and they got married, and they lived in Utah for the rest of their lives. And she left her mother in Ireland.
Nice one.
So, but yeah, just amazing history about that.
Okay. Any idea whereabouts in Belfast they lived?
I do not.
Find their house.
I'll ask my mother.
If you dig that information out, if you find out the info, we can visit the house. It's probably still here. A lot of the old shipyard houses are still here. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
A lot of the shipyard houses in East Belfast. The house I live in is from 1926, but there's ones there from 1890s.
And I just remembered
you should do that. You should do it.
My mom's aunt, her sister, lives in just down the street from me. She was from Ireland, of course, because they were sisters. So I'll definitely have to ask her. I will. I'll let you
Well,
know.
no, do find out, because that would mean that would mean a lot. You come over here, see the house, you know, trace your roots. It's what every American does, you know. It's your life's work to come to Ireland.
It is.
Have a pint of Guinness, a real pint of Guinness, and see
Oh.
where it all began.
Oh, well, again, thank you
No
so
problem.
much. Yeah, thank you.
No problem, yeah, no
Let
problem.
me check and see if there's any more.
pleasure.
I'm sure you want to go home. It's like you've given us 2.5 hours.
The sun,
of your
the
time.
the sun's going down.
Yeah, we got to get you home before it's dark. And
I only live in the corner.
Oh, nice.
You know,
Rub it in.
you can have one last view of the dock there. You can have one last view
Oh, so beautiful.
as the sun sets on another lovely day at the pump house and the dock.
And what a beautiful day we had.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were lucky like I was last year because I had the same weather and it was awesome.
Oh, and as Alex said, the sun is rising in New Zealand.
Well,
And Petra is
well, it's
telling
going down for
so
us.
you are
Now,
deserving
next
a beer
time,
now.
if you-
Oh, what
You
is
deserve a beer now.
one after another.
Oh yeah, you do deserve it.
One after another. If you want, if in the future, if you want to do an art call, we can do one starting at the other end and do the nomadic. We can do Titanic Belfast and the hotel and the slipways. So you can do the part where the first initial construction and design part. That could be another idea for you in the future. We could do the outside part, and when the hotel opens, we could do the drawing rooms, Thomas Andrews' private office, William Perry's office and boardroom.
Amazing.
Everyone's saying yes, please.
We can do the presentation room where Ismay named the Titanic and named the Olympic, in the presentation room where the models were. The hotel is one of the most fabulous places to be because they've restored it. They haven't changed it much. We can see the original telegraph rooms, the original entrances, and Thomas Andrews' private office with his fireplace is still there. You know,
please,
so we can
yes,
do that next time. We can do that next time
Okay.
if you can put up with me for another couple of hours.
Oh, we could
more than
watch you every minute.
Thank
it's
you
like
for your
it's like a new
time,
fan
Colin.
club. Okay, thank you so much,
you.
guys.
I'm gonna unmute you guys. You can give a quick shout out.
Thank you.
Oh man, thank you heaps, Colin.
Colin, Matthew
Thank
here.
you.
Just wanted to say thank
Hello.
you. Thank you for the tour.
Hi, Colin. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you.
We really appreciate.
Is that you, Rhonda? Oh, there's Richard, my brother Richard. I'm Rhonda. My brother's there.
Hey!
Oh, that's your brother.
Thank you, Colin.
Yeah, my brother.
Spotlight your brother.
I think my mom and dad was there. My daughter might have been in there somewhere as
Spotlighting
well. Somewhere.
Hey, how you?
Hi.
See you, Richard. There's
Hi.
Richard. There's my
Well,
brother.
we're
That's my
here
brother,
to
Richard.
say just one thing. We're
I'm
here to
Rhonda.
say one thing. I think
Go ahead,
Colin,
Richard. I
you
can't
need to
hear you.
write that
You're
book.
picking up.
That book, I think every
You're
guy.
just frozen there at the moment.
Yeah. Well, if you write that book, I think everyone will buy that book.
It's just kind of broken up. No, it's frozen.
Oh,
So
darn.
so that
kind of frozen.
if you would write this,
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
can all agree.
I
If Colin
think-
should write a book on this, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, book I would definitely pay money for.
Formatting. I'm
We're a book club. We're here to promote.
Exactly.
Bye, guys. Bye bye.
Colin, thank you from the bottom of our heart.
Colin.
Bye.
Colin.
Bye.
thank you.
Take care, Colin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you in
Colin.
October.
Yes.
Pick
Yeah.
up milk.
I got the milk. Don't worry.
Bless you, Colin.
See you guys.
See you in October.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye, Colin.
Bye, Colin.
Hi, Colin. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Hey, Richard.
That was awesome.
Thank you too, by the way, Ashley.
Oh my
No
gosh.
problem. I'm glad you
Bye.
enjoyed it.
I'm just
Bye,
glad
Ash.
to know that was you that I probably met 3 years back
Yeah,
now.
I think it was. I think it was you. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
remember.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm heading
yeah,
up.
like-
See you.
Go get a
you
beer,
go.
a nice meal.
I mean, I think we technically met, well, like in the cafe, because you were just going in. Some people, I was like, do I have to pay like this person to go in the dry dock? You're like, yeah, you just pay that. And I didn't expect to see you afterwards, just down that dock, because I was minding my own business.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, I'm not. I was just. It was just. It was a nice bonus. It was a nice bonus. I was like, okay, there's got to be a boundary. I don't want to push my luck here. Because like this was like the one time, because like I'd been in other parts of the world with the family, but this was the one time I was actually on my own. I had gone on a ferry the night before, and yeah, I just thought, okay, this is okay. Don't lose yourself. Time had flown that day I was there. I'd already been to the Titanic Belfast Museum, Nomadic, and checking out the hotels that were once the drawing offices, and well, those 8 hours just only felt like 3 to me. It was like, man, that was really 8 hours. How does time go that quickly? That's not fair. But nah, and this has definitely made my day. I may not have slept, but it is absolutely worth it.
Oh, I'm trying to unmute everybody. Sorry, I thought I hit unmute. Oh, but
Can you guys hear me at all?
Oh yeah, I can hear you fine.
I can hear you.
oh.
Yeah, it looks like. Hold on, I'm just looking.
You don't
now.
need to unmute me.
The mute and unmute button was a little bit glitchy today because I
saw, but
Colin
looks
was
like you
so
got a
hard.
good chunk of
Oh my
people.
Technology. Can't live with it, can't live without it.
It's one or the other. It's both a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Oh, this is great. I'm gonna pull this off of Facebook.
Sick.
I think probably